And Amnesty International has accused Sudan's RSF rebel group of committing 8 crimes against humanity against unarmed civilians during the ongoing conflict in Sudan. In its report, Sudan City under siege, children under fire, RSF human rights violations in northern Darfur, the organization calls for an immediate end to the fighting and the deployment of international peacekeepers to help restore peace. Amnesty International says the conflict, now in its 3rd year, has devastated families, killed thousands of people, displaced millions, and denied children access to education. The report released in Nairobi also names 3 Sudanese army commanders as being responsible for serious human rights violations.
This is a war on civilians, as we have already said. The human toll of the conflict has been immense. The numbers are staggering. Tens of thousands of people have been killed and many more have been injured. More than 10.5 million have been displaced within Sudan.
All states must immediately stop providing arms.
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Tambur.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Broadcasting worldwide, Spice FM. Online, mobile, and on radio. Facebook at Spice FM KE.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They're being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He is himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament.
He admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said
in the government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Guten Morgen. Bonjour. Inakwana. Habari asubuhi. Buongiorno. Otutoma. Ekaso.
Shall we keep going?
Bola. Aterere.
Good morning.
Eba. Soboleng.
Wait. Okay. Soboleng to you too.
How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Everything is okay in Dennis World?
Dennis World, everything is like
all the citizens of Aseto.
But tuko sawa.
I told you July is going to do a doozy on you guys. Proper. Prepare for July. Relax. Bado. What will you be saying by like the 13th of July like this?
I don't know. We need to find...
Electric duvet.
I know. I have an experience. Not me. We reported an experience where people burnt in electric shoes, electric things. Me, I'm not trying.
Those things you're not interested in them? Okay, so we leave those for those guys who...
Human blanket, perhaps.
I don't know if you've caught that. Huh?
It's cuddly.
Cuddly things like teddy bear. I have a teddy bear in my bed. I just thought I'd let you know. It's actually a polar bear.
Okay.
Yeah, really soft.
That'll be good.
Yeah. And yeah. So I just thought I'd let you in on that little bit of information. I have a teddy bear. Actually, I have 3. I have a duck, a bear, and a dolphin in my bed. Yeah. It could speak to certain things, but we shall leave those conversations for the future. If I can see you smiling from here, we'll talk later. We shall talk when? Later. You can ask me about my bed companions. Okay. So, good morning, like I said. We're getting into it.
Thursday.
It's Thursday. It's Thursday. July is not your mate.
Yep.
It's already the 2nd of July. And getting into it, it's a new year in Kenya. The financial year is in the 2nd day already. And a lot of things that were then put into place will have started to kick in. And you'll probably see some changes in the short term. Apart from Dennis Aseto being very cold this morning, so we need you to send him in your warm greetings. Please. So at the very least, the man can warm up. Have we agreed? Let's do that for Dennis today. Let's take one for the team.
Warm I am, but the cold is
outside there.
Proper.
It's beating you up.
Proper.
So let's give Dennis some warm tidings so that he can take them with him when he goes home. Amma? Right. Good morning, EVE. Good morning, Marion. Good morning, Joyline. Good morning, Mutanu. Good morning, everybody. You see my greetings, how they are going far and wide across the world, across tribes and nations. That's how we are starting off the day today. And let me tell you the conversations that we will be having. On Monday, 26 Kenyans had already arrived Kenya from South Africa. According to Rosalind Jogu, who is the PS for Diaspora Affairs in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, she told us that there would be more Kenyans who would be coming back. And this is the June 30th declaration that all illegal people should get out of South Africa. But I think a lot of people said whether they were illegal or not, they were going to come back because they were not interested in that story. So this has been the case for a number of countries who've been leaving South Africa as well. And the tale around the continent is that this xenophobia thing is South Africa is not about to be cured of it just yet. And that there are very many underlying issues as to what the situation might be. So today, we're going to be talking about xenophobia with the good Professor Peter Kagwanja. He will join us. He's the CEO of the Africa Policy Institute. And we'll be having a conversation around what this xenophobia story is. Why is it the way it is? What are the underlying issues? And if it's going to be solved, what is it? Because South Africa is part of the 54, whichever way you slice it. And are there internal issues that are affecting external relationships? So we'll talk about that with Prof at 7 o'clock. Dennis is pushing that conversation because I will then be on the way to go and have our conversation from 8 to 10 with one Jimi Wanjigi, who is a presidential aspirant, but he's been pushing a particular agenda, and that is that the problem as to why you cannot see development in Kenya is 2 things. Number 1, you have too much debt. Number 2, you have too much corruption. So let's go hear what some of this is with Jimi Wanjigi at 8 o'clock, and we'll be doing that until 10. So those are the conversations that we have today, and so we're going to crack this thing a little bit today and crack these conversations open. So that's what it looks like today in the Situation Room. Good morning to you. Karibu Sana. Those are the conversations that we will be having today. It's 6:15 o'clock, and Dennis is here. He's a bit cold. Like I said, please send him your greetings and warm him up just a little bit. It would be great if we can all do it together. Sawa sawa. Alafu, Our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Let's get into it this morning, and a very good morning to our audience on KTN today as we then forge on into some of these conversations that we'll have today. Karibuni sana. This is the Situation Room. We will comfort the afflicted and we will afflict the comfortable. If there is something that needs to be brought up, we will not be the ones who will be shy about it. We will talk about it, and we will make sure that it is in the open and it is on the fire when it needs to be. And if there's something that we need to congratulate, we will. If there's something that we need to continue to encourage, we'll do that too. These will be balanced conversations every morning. So, Karibu, as we get into it today, you took us to Lesotho.
Lesotho, I'd really want to know what's the experience of the citizens, especially now that we are seeing Afrophobia happening in South Africa. Because
now that they're surrounded by South Africa.
You know, and I mean, for even South Africans who are in Lesotho, what happens there?
Yeah.
Because it's easy for them to
get out.
What if they decide to block the water?
Where? They're already getting water from South Africa.
It's just now thinking about now the business that South Africa does with everyone else. What happens if the rest of the continent just decides to as well just close those doors?
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, we are in Lesotho, the water tower of South Africa, the kingdom in the sky, right? The home of diamond as well, which they do have. The Basotho blanket. I should get one.
You should.
I should get one.
It just sounds like the Basotho blanket. It sounds like a part of the part of the place, not necessarily just like a blanket.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's a region.
It's a region.
But anyway, you should get one.
It's a national outfit. But let's go to the proverb. A stick is straightened when it is still wet. A stick is straightened while it is still wet.
There's a Kiswahili proverb that I heard in Kilifi. Somebody in Kilifi said it to me. Something bichi, something.
Yeah, samaki
you know exactly what I'm saying.
Samaki mkunje angali mbichi.
Yeah, even in Pidgin we say, now condition force crayfish to bend. It is when it is supple that it can now bend, because like crayfish, when you see them and they are dried, they've already taken a particular shape.
They're called.
It is when you are soft and malleable, when you're still young and you're uncorrupted, that is the best time to actually form behavior. That's how you're socialized. On the other side, you'll find that people who are funny, shady characters later on in life, it did not start then. It started earlier on. So when you're just starting is the best time to actually form. And if you're going good, fantastic. It is also the time when things go Nduh. Yeah. That's my opinion.
So you look at it, so good character should be taught from childhood, right? We've established that. But now you need to look at, say, even if it's in governance, at what point exactly do you make sure that things go straight?
Yeah.
It is not later when things have worsened. It's when you are forming, say, if it's government, if you're forming an institution, the policies that you put in place and intentionally implement them, because that is your child at the moment and you're molding them as you move with it. So it's Mimi, Dennis Aseto na hapa kwamba nitatumikia wananchi. That's the point. That's your child at that moment. So from then on is you molding this child as you move, so that when you're in the 3rd, 4th year, they are respecting the law. You don't have to deal with compensation because of police brutality, because you molded it from the word go.
For sure.
So early beginnings determine the future.
Exactly. You don't wait until the water's around your neck to try and see how you can escape. It's when it's around your ankles that you should then say, perhaps this
look for the drainage.
Hey, mop up the thing at that point. Lovely proverb coming in from Lesotho today. We'll be interesting to hear what folks have to say about that. Let's take a moment then to say a very good morning to you before we look into what is making news in the headlines today. If I were you, Mtuflani and Isakale, now would be the time to grab that cuppa because where? Beatrice Omanwa is saying a very good morning to you, and she's tuned in this morning from Dallas in Texas. Good morning to you. James says, hello, Tafadhalini. If they mobilize you into an empowerment meeting, pretend to be empowered. If you dare complain that you were not empowered, they will use power to clear you. Fikirini sana hii. Hey. Fikirini sana hii. This is James. Well done.
Wordplay.
But wow, wordplay for sure. But yes, the message has reached home. David Mangera says, a very good morning to you, SpiceFM, KE, and the Situation Room. Shout out to all of you this morning, including Kimiak. Okay, sour, David. Tibbs Muke says, good morning, SpiceFM team. Out of curiosity, yes, how many drone divisions are in our armies continent-wide, or is it still a case of leather shields versus guns? Well, that would be interesting to kind of find out. Yeah. I don't know.
The only place where I know drones are being used, but that's for health purposes, is Rwanda. For delivering medication and things like this. But in terms of military warfare, protection, security, I don't know.
I don't know if African armies are actually using, new technology for warfare.
In a military event.
Well,
Madaraka, Mashuja. Well, but it's usually for videography.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if anybody's actually employing that technology. I don't know. I don't know.
Actually,
wait a minute.
The war in Somalia against Al-Shabaab is actually now being used. The drone technology is being used to gather intelligence. That I saw.
Okay.
That I've gathered.
So it's happening. It's happening, and I'm sure it is.
Perhaps not to the scale with which others are doing it, but
if you want to compare,
it's being applied.
Okay, interesting. Tibbs, so there's your answer. Kimiak, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Spice. The president, CS Murkumen, and PS Ray Omolo can play a perfect script of Ed, and Eddie. Are we allowed to laugh? Sorry.
Laugh. It's allowed.
But in terms of governing this country, nothing good will come out of the Kenya Kwanzaa administration. Kimiak, good morning. I can see you're in fine form this morning, brother. Kerry Peter says, good morning from Mombasa. Avoiding certain people to protect your emotional health is not weakness, it's wisdom. Kabisa. It is wisdom. If you need to take the stairs, take the stairs. If you see them coming in the lift, I advocate for it 1,000%.
I haven't seen wisdom for a while.
I have.
Our wisdom.
Your wisdom? I have.
You have?
Yes.
Okay.
He's around. Zach OK says, good morning, Spice family. All the best the day brings forth. Asante sana to you. A rich man's mistake is called a lesson, but a poor man's mistake is called a crime. Society judges your status, not your dreams, unfortunately, but it's the truth. G. Kenyan says, good morning from Nairobi. Very good morning to you. Robert Mbogo is tuning from Mombasa. Izakale, sasa unaona tumeona message. Jana ilikuwa imeenda. Good morning, Nduh and Aseto and the usual suspects. Apparently, I hear cemeteries have raised prices and blamed it on the cost of living. Have a reflective day, won't you? To bring your dead here, you have to consider the cost of the living. So, exactly. I'd love to have a breakfast and sit and just figure out how your brain works. Daniel Churu says, good morning, Nduh and Aseto. That man up there is smart, but in a wicked way. Normalizing grand looting and incompetence so much that when his regime builds a mere 500 meters of road, it's seen as an accomplishment. Where?
I tell you, personally, I think that was sad.
Where?
We appreciate the project is there. You get. But personally, I would reckon that is something the governor should have gone to do.
Was he not there? Was the governor there? He was there. Happy?
The Siamese twins. I mean, but the governor should have gone to just do the job.
The question is, did it need the president?
We didn't need the president
to come out and do that.
Other big things, big problems like shies down. So deal with that.
Perhaps. Christina A says, good morning.
There's still traffic on that road anyway.
That's what I was going to say. The traffic looks terrible still on that road, by the way. The traffic is still bad.
Especially on that bridge.
Because traffic on top of the bridge
now, when the bridge exits to Wananchi Ukuchini, right? There's still traffic down there. So what exactly are you doing?
So wait a minute. I was there a couple of days ago. So the road, the upper road, actually it ascends for a minute and then it descends back into the normal Ngong Road traffic. Okay, brilliant.
So if you don't deal with expansion of Ngong Road further down, still there'll be traffic. If you don't address the problems of people encroaching on road reserves along Naivasha Road, still you've not handled the problem.
This Ngong Road, they've been touching it for 15 years, haven't they? Ngong Road has never quite finished. Man, on one side the Chinese, another side the Japanese. That's one global road that you have.
That one now was Italian.
Abbas.
Yeah, the bridge is Italian.
Don't call him Gong Road.
World Road.
Global Road. Nabado. Somebody's about to touch it somewhere else. Christina, you say, good morning. We need 2 hours of conversation with the walking constitution, James Orengo, Nganga Mungai, and Adrian Oloch. Even the framers have violated it. Opposition aren't supposed to be in my cabinet. In any cabinet, you say? Okay. Opposition of what? Should not be in the cabinet? Don't understand, Christina, but okay. Henry Accepted says, good morning, Spice family. Dennis Aseto, Niulam say, please, kunywa kahawa. Princess Nduh, keep it up. Twende kazi kabisa. Oh, I see what you're saying, Christina. All right. Cliff Sunday says, good morning, Team Spice. Always doing the best and making the mornings great. Today, we press mute to all government speeches. Kwa nini tena? You need to hear what they're saying. I advocate for you need to actually hear what they're saying. Hisa Daniel says, good morning, Team Spice. Eric Orr says, good morning to you. Jennifer Atenya is in the room. Bonjour, mes chéris. Spice family tuned in from the cold Kikuyu, looking forward to the conversations ahead. Yes, Kikuyu is actually cold. Like yesterday, the sun was shining, but it was cold.
Yep.
But hey, for the folks who are waking up in Kikuyu today, Godspeed. Oi, my children. Madega wa crocodile. Okay. Good morning, guys. Good proverb today. Yes, it was a good one. Leo ndio nawaona live kwa screen. Kwani unakwanga wapi? On 10 and 45. Kumbe mnakanga hivi. It's nice to put faces to the voices I hear on radio. You've never tuned in live? This is great that you can see us. Isn't Dennis fine? Yes. Clement Ochola says, hello, good morning from Malindi, Kwachocha.
Have you seen her eyes?
You were just supposed to let it go. We, as Kenyans, always demonize the saints and canonize the demons. It's sad, isn't it, Just? It's Kenny. Good morning to you. My nephew's name is Kenny. Kenny from Kiambu. Okay. I think I share Wanjigi's statements on the treasury bills and bonds. One way to reduce the debt burden is to boycott these bills and bonds. Okay. Well, we'll hear from him about that. It's one of the things that we'll talk with him about later on today. Osama Mark says, good morning, Spice. The story about illegal immigrants in SA has been misunderstood. And illegality remains one and has to be addressed. Being violent and looting property should be contained. Yes, it should. I think there are very many blurred lines in this conversation. The thing about Professor Kagwanja is that beyond a policy man, he's a historian. To understand that this thing that you're seeing today did not start in 2024, that it has historical lines to it. So to then to be able to understand that conversation, I think is important in terms of where it's coming from historically.
When you talk about an illegality, yes, an illegality is an illegality, but it is not the citizens to deal with that.
Yep.
That's why you have the police, that's why you have immigration officers and immigration laws. So if you see citizens armed, ejecting people against human rights, one asks the question, what's the work of the police?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Citizens have their role to play.
The manner in which it's being handled is what people have an issue with. All right. So, I mean, that comes in conversation in a short while. Shamondara says, good morning from Seattle in the USA. Please talk about NTSA vehicle inspection issue. Which vehicles are they inspecting when most of them are unroadworthy? That's a conversation we ought to have in a couple of days because people are quite confused. Perhaps the good boys and girls at NTSA ought to come and tell us, hey, this is what it actually means. Mara, it's not private vehicles. Mara, it's just commercial vehicles. Then it's everybody. And then by this date, twice a year. What's the story? Ama? Yeah, okay.
And please just remember what PLO said. Taka-taka carrying taka-taka.
Taka-taka carrying taka-taka. I loved that. But he was speaking the truth.
Yeah.
It's like a death trap, those things. Rascador says, good morning. Wana Spice, what? This regime has failed totally. Oi. The soonest they pack up and go to Mechoka. Oi, Rascador, Makaleo kama Mechoka. Rose Grace says, good morning, Aseto and Nduh, blessings to you too. Paul Olaka says, good morning with a smile. We like these ones. Asante sana. Brian anasema ati uko na dolly ngapi? They're not dolls. They're teddy bears in animal form.
Bueno, we know them as dolls.
Dolly.
Dolly?
No. They're my soft creatures. 3 that are on my bed. We'll not talk about where the rest of them are. Where Brian, what's Shannon, your story? Nelson says, good morning, Spice. Good morning to you. Langitemi says, good morning from Dubai. Temperatures here, Labda to Zambaz. It's hot there. It's very hot. Okay. The 2000 says 1 euro bond. So you tell us good morning, Buana, first. 1 euro bond is equivalent to the total cost of the most expensive hospital. With 14 euro bonds taken, Kenya should have had 7 world-class hospitals, each employing 36,000 employees. Now, those are the kind of numbers that when I hear them, my brain starts to dance.
Yeah.
Because
when anger checks in.
Mm-hmm. Because you've had 14 euro bonds, my lord, and the amount of money in each bond. Yeah? Now, we're going to get a bit of a clarification as to Eurobonds as well later on today. But the kind of money that we're looking at that you could have actually done something significant with in Kenya. The amount of money per Eurobond, we're talking about in the hundreds of millions. Don't you think that kind of money, having been applied in Kenya, you would have seen? I keep asking, don't you think you would have seen it? Ama?
You know, even as we talk about it being applied, let's not forget that there is a $2 billion Eurobond that never touched the public coffers. Disappeared somewhere in the West, Okoh. Never came here. Now, think about what $2 billion is.
$2 billion is, times 1.
Thanks.
It's 260 billion Kenya shillings.
Now,
Ama, yes.
260 B. Counties are sharing
435 billion.
So that's like half. So now give that to half the counties and tell them, go shine.
Nduh, however, you understand that that's just one bond.
Yeah.
That's just one bond.
Yeah. And you hear, like the 2 billion bob we're talking about is what allegedly misappropriated. It hasn't touched.
That's the one that didn't come home.
Didn't come here.
All right. And you're paying.
Yes.
Well done. Lovely. Hey, let's take a break. See what's happening with traffic, weather, and then we'll come back and see what's happening in the headlines. You want to be here for this one. Good morning. It's 29 minutes to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Indeed, it's a little bit of a colder morning. So, Dennis, you are actually there in Sawa Abasi. It's 12 degrees in Nairobi. We'll see a high of 24. So look forward to some sunshine later on. At 14 degrees and mostly cloudy into Nakuru, and 13 into Njeri. 20 in Kisumu and 17 and mostly clear conditions in Kakamega. Mombasa this morning is partly sunny at 22 and partly sunny conditions at 24 in Malindi. 17 and sunny into Marsabit, while at 20 it's partly cloudy into Kampala, and at 21 clear in Dar es Salaam. 11 degrees and cloudy in Johannesburg, while at 26 it's partly cloudy in Lagos. It's 16 and mostly clear in London, while 31 and mostly sunny in Beijing, and clear skies. Very warm New York at 30 degrees on Wednesday night, coming into Monday an even higher temperature of 34 and a low of 28.
Chilled Spice.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide.
All right, let's take a look at what it looks like this morning, and actually not too crazy at the moment. Just that Pangani underpass is what's giving people just a slight slowdown as you come off the thicker superhighway and then trying to get into the CBD. That and then movement on North Airport Road a little bit slow this morning, in and outbound traffic going slow. Apart from that, it seems that nobody else has woken up this morning and everybody's already where they need to have been gone today. But we'll wait and see what happens closer to traffic hour. But for now, it's looking good. Most kids, most children, learners off to school. So we'll probably see a little bit less traffic. But those buses, they are up and about early this morning. Are you stuck somewhere? I don't think so. Just in case you do get stuck later, talk to us about what's happening in your neck of the woods, and we'll try to keep things moving. Sharing that information. We'll talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Oxide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide, inside from Chloride Oxide.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, Karibu Sana. Let's look into the headlines. But of course, a quick hello that we're saying this morning. We see you, Thomas Osoro, getting in, and you're saying that NTSA issue, we need to know actually whose account it's going into. And of course, just looking at that comment this morning, so Gekota, we see a very good morning to you, and you're asking, I wonder if building affordable houses, market and launching roads, where was public participation? You participated publicly. That's what we were told. And also, Brian, we see you. Very good morning to you. Karibu Sana. Samuel Kinovia is also tuned in this morning. And he's tuned in from Namibia. Okay, yep. Very good, very good. Everybody who gets into the room, Asante Sana for joining us every morning as you do. Let's get into these conversations together. We'll start it off by looking at the headlines. On the front page of The Standard, Kenya's bold newspaper, Be the Judge. There are pictures of very many individuals there. And in the middle of it is PS Raymond Omolo. A day after Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo claimed there were no abductions, The Standard has documented present and past survivors who recounted being held incommunicado, tortured and left for dead by state operatives. Ironically, a government reparations document appears to contradict the PS. I'm going to repeat that. A government reparations document appears to contradict the PS, listing names of abduction among those eligible for compensation. With 35 still missing, some of those once abducted now serve as government bloggers and public servants. They're individuals that when you look at that picture, Are we looking at that picture? That you will actually recognize. So this is very interesting. How is it that the PS said that these are not abductions, just people kidnapping themselves, but the same government has actually listed them on a document saying that they're eligible for compensation? I don't understand it.
I mean, I really find it's cynical when a PS speaks like that, yet even at some point, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, one Justin Bidan Muturi, came out and said, my son had been picked up by police. I had to call the president for my son to be released. It's not me saying. That was a government employee at the position of chief government advisor admitting.
They'll tell you that those are not the ones they were referring to.
Okay.
They were referring to the ones for Juzi too. These in Guinea, there were actual abductions.
But you know what he said? Since they took power, the government of President William Ruto has never.
Yeah. So I was trying to help him. See,
no, inauma sana, because we know people who've died.
It is true.
We keep on reporting of individuals who've never shown up. There's a story I saw yesterday of that lady who was crying, telling the government to just release her son. Fortunately, she's one of the parents out here who her son came back home. But many, as we speak today, to the tune of what? 35
are missing.
Still missing.
Morioki is one of them.
Yes.
Mama Morioki has been to every hospital. She has been to every morgue. She has been to every police station. Morioki has been missing since the 25th of June 2024. Mama Morioki has not found Morioki. He's one of the 35. So when you come and tell us that those things that people are staged, they're just in their houses sleeping. I think get the battery for your brain to mouth filter. It is loose, not working. Come on. There's some things that we cannot allow. Come on. And then now if you know very well that they were disappeared, why are they being compensated?
Yes.
Hello?
Why is the government report saying there is actually
abduction? The reparations documents that is for abductees.
Yes.
You guys are now coming to tell us that they were sleeping. That's what I'm saying. Get a new battery.
And you see, even when you hear the PS speak like that, one asks the question then, where is the honesty when it comes to compensation and actually stopping repetition of the same?
Breathe.
Hey.
And that's just on page 1. Page 2, detectives recover guns from PS's bodyguards. There's the story that we're looking for. Investigators in Nairobi North Regional Sub-County on Wednesday recovered 2 firearms from bodyguards attached to Youth Affairs PS Fikirini Jacobs following the fatal shooting of a youth mobilizer on Tuesday evening. It is alleged that Cecil Ouma, 28, was shot by an aide attached to the PS after a youth empowerment program at Kariokor in Nairobi. Ouma was allegedly pushed from the vehicle belonging to the PS with gunshot wounds and later died at Park Road Nursing Home. That's the story that we wanted to look into, that what exactly happened. And this young man is dead. And the security agencies have told us as well that everybody's going to record a statement. I'm saying that forensics can actually be pushed for... It's not 6:30 English. Expedited is the word that I'm looking for, and that you can actually point and say this bullet came from this gun, this gun belonging to this person.
And
What are the happenings under his death? Around his death. But now you've invited people to come and give statements as though you were inviting them to a tea party. Would you like to come for some mimosas? No, somebody's dead.
Nduh. Former President, retired President Uhuru Kenyatta, launched the state-of-the-art forensics laboratory at the DCI. Immediately after that, there's something that former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i did. All licensed gun holders were asked to return their guns to go through the ballistics so that they can have the record of each and every single gun. One would assume, I am assuming, that as well happened within the security forces for them to have a trace of all the guns that citizens have purchased and have been assigned to different police officers. I'm just assuming that was the logic as well in the sector, but that notwithstanding, using the forensics lab, we know it's 2 officers, right? This man was shot.
Yes.
There is a bullet lodged in their body.
Yeah.
You take that bullet, take it to upper. In fact, it's not far.
It's not Kiambu Road?
From Kariokor and the DCI.
Yeah.
It's just above Kiambu Road. It's not far. You can even, if you start walking, you will not take 2 hours to get there. Take that bullet there. Retrieve the guns. Shoot in that chamber where you shoot. Take those bullets. Compare.
Let's remember...
You will know where exactly it's coming from.
Let's also remember that bodyguards that are assigned to...
are police officers.
Are government workers, are police officers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
To the large extent. So the arms that they have come from somewhere. What am I trying to say with all this long English? Is that if you really wanted to find out what happened, that you could find out and you could find out now, and that somebody then would be made to answer instead of just talking long many things. That here we are dealing with yet another situation that can be handled if you want. Unfortunately, the Debbie Downer in me is out dancing this morning to say, unfortunately, from recent things that have happened, or is now PS going to tell us that Cecil shot himself and threw himself on the side of the road?
Yeah.
Is that what we're going to say? Because if we're going to follow trends, that's what the trend looks like. Nah, another man is dead, and we cannot treat it as though you swatted a fly on the wall.
And I think also let's just remember that by the time you've taken a gun, you've cocked it, you've removed the safety, you've placed your hand on the trigger, and you actually pulled it. It's a process. You made the decision to fire. Let's never forget that by the time you're holding a gun and pointing it to someone,
it's a decision you've made. It's a decision you've made. Whether it's in a flash, it's a flash at a spur of the moment, it is a decision that you have made.
Thank you.
And then you went on to throw this young man out of the vehicle, not bothering what was going to happen to him.
This man was in the vehicle. If you shot him in the vehicle, what do?
Yeah.
Rush him to hospital.
No, but you shot him.
You shot him.
Then you throw him out of the car. Then you want to come and tell us.
In fact,
invite them for statement.
That damn vehicle is dusting.
Stop it.
You know, there has to be some blood in that vehicle.
We have debased value.
Capture.
Unfortunately. And on the same page is even getting my high blood pressure up even more. Uproar over AU silence as tension rises in South Africa. Tension is rising in South Africa. Now, this is the thing about expectations.
Yeah.
If you place your expectations on something or someone who does not have the wherewithal or the gravitas.
They checked out.
Bana, you guys, they were not playing this game a long time ago. Come on. Now you're saying that Sudan has been in conflict for the last 30 years. Congo, people have been coming and pillaging that country. Where has the AU been? Now there's xenophobia in South Africa, or there has been for how many years? And then you want to come and tell us that the AU is going to be able to handle it? Stop it. Stop it. Count on somebody else. As I said it. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. AU, get your puppetry, toss it out the window, and actually stand for something. Come on. Don't want to share your number? WhatsApp has got you covered. They've said now you can have a username on WhatsApp.
Yep.
You don't need to show your number if you don't want to. Yay, WhatsApp. Okay, I don't know that.
At GOK.
You're all kinds of silly. Yeah, so Omolo continues denying abductions as families search for missing kin. Hello? They can't find him.
Yeah.
So, Kanja besieged as the National Police Service Commission feud succession fights. They're still fighting.
Yeah.
You guys have been fighting for a hot minute. So what a mess. Stop it. Just get it together.
The month's change is coming to an end, yeah?
Yes, it is. So people are thinking, who's going to be the next one?
Yeah.
Who's going to be the next one?
With the
Eli
end
Lagat,
abductions.
Masengeli.
Oh.
Who?
You mentioned...
He has two
So the
deputies: deputy
Lagat-
administration, and deputy administration police, and deputy national police, whatever. But yeah, there are two: Masengeli and Eliud Lagat. The two individuals that I have mentioned. Do with that what you would.
I'm asking.
Axe.
Those two individuals, there's a high possibility one of them might end up being right. But I'm just asking, in the order of merit, in the order of clearance from other government agencies, how would they pass that test?
What is the threshold? Boss, if the person who is sitting in the office is telling you that people are... What is the threshold? What threshold for merit are you actually applying in a situation where you say, oh, you must have done 1, 2, 3? It seems as though the person who's able to do the most outrageous, say the most outrageous things that go against the protection of civilians is the person that might get the job, for crying out loud.
Do you know what that means? Think about it. Think about it. 7 times ordered by the court, I'll not show up.
You should have on the 7th one.
And that one is a suspect in a murder case.
See, just leave it first.
Okay.
On page 6, and let me just go quickly.
Yeah.
Pay hike for chiefs and civil servants in proposed CBA. So you party a chief ma tablet kwanza. Mulisema 6 months. Give the chiefs their tablets so that they can... What were they supposed to do with them?
See, for recording incidences.
Oh, okay. So they've not recorded any incidences since then?
Since then.
Oh, okay. I'm just asking.
Ndio kitabu inaweza mvua inaweza nyesha because the houses were, or rather the offices are also mabati kidogo. Inaweza nyesha incident ipotee.
Silly. Ruto cabinet, damned if you do, damned if you don't. So the court has given him 120 days to make sure that there is a 2/3 gender rule applicable at the cabinet level. TikTok, you don't have much time. Talent galore at annual music festivals. I think this is a great way to foster development of the arts, and you know how you can have impact change with students. Governor put to task over 742 million shilling expenditure and procurement. Oh, God in heaven. And which governor is this we're looking at? Governor Eric Mutai. What's happening in Kericho? Because 742 million spent and then we can't see something? Jeez Louise. Fear of death, faulty HIV test as fake health items circulate. Look, you know what? I'm done. New report exposes chilling atrocities as war in Sudan rages. Hello, AU. You see now we're hoping that... hello? AU have a missed call.
Sorry.
I didn't even know that story was there when I was talking about this xenophobia thing, and people are putting their hopes in the AU. Broke Treasury eyes 244 billion shilling boon as Safaricom sale deal concludes.
Manda.
Yeah, Manda.
Manda.
Yeah, Manda.
Manda.
Hey, you guys, get yourself a copy of the Standard newspaper or a copy of the e-paper, www.standardmedia.co.ke. Where?
You thought it was any better?
Sips tea, literally.
Let's get ready. Daily Nation. PS caught up in man's killing probe.
On Tuesday, Youth Affairs Principal Secretary Fikirini Jacobs attended a public event at Kariokor Social Hall in Starehe, Nairobi, which would have been another routine official function were it not for its tragic ending. The PS's bodyguard reportedly shot dead Cecily Uma, a young leader, under disputed circumstances. A criminal investigation is now underway, and the PS is among those expected to record a statement with police. I think it's important to note that based off reports that we got immediately after the incident happened, is that the bodyguards went missing.
How did they...
Went into hiding, perhaps.
So why did they go to hide?
Thank you.
If you know you've not done anything, why are you hiding?
Why are you hiding? That's where I start my investigation. Why did you go to hide?
Yeah. It's like the cops when they're chasing people in New York. Yeah. Why'd you run, dude? Why'd you run?
Why'd you run?
I didn't do anything. Why'd you run?
Exactly. 10 counties where suppliers have waited the longest for pay. That is in page 17. We shall be getting deeper into that. And will Ruto replace 2 men in cabinet with women is the question. Now, President William Ruto is facing a fresh political headache after the High Court declared the composition of his cabinet unconstitutional for failing to meet the 2/3 general rule. He may be forced to sacrifice 2 male cabinet secretaries to implement the court decree to reconstitute his cabinet within 120 days in order to raise the number of women nominees to 8, but State House may also opt to appeal against the ruling. So, if he also doesn't do that, that means the highest office in the land will have disrespected a court order.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
Now, fikirini sana juu ya hiyo story. Police bullet shattered my hopes, says mother of man killed in 2024. This is what Miss Mary Wangeshi said, and I quote, "When we went to see him at the mortuary the following day, I could not believe it was my Dennis lying there." Oh my God. His head blown apart with a gaping hole where the bullet had exited. That image still torments me. Now, Dennis was shot dead in Embu during the anti-finance bill protest as he went to buy hotel supplies. Yes, we can still trace that bullet and find the man who pulled the trigger.
Yes, you can.
Justice must be served. Teenagers' self-harm theory lingers as his school is absent. So this is the request for Randy Mathenge Kimingichi, a 14-year-old who died after a controversial fall from the 3rd floor of a building in his school. Happened on Wednesday with no official attendance from the institution. So, report is he fell. During his burial, there was no representation from the school. So it's just a concern.
And he fell in school?
Yeah.
Died in school?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Why are you hiding?
What?
Kenyan scientist receives 187 million shillings grant to predict disease outbreaks. So that is Dr. Samuel Oyola, who received a grant from the Gates Foundation to predict disease using wastewater. You see wastewater?
Yeah.
You take a sample of that, take it to a lab. You can determine in this locale there is a strains of polio. So that community needs to be vaccinated. That has happened before in this very country. Yes. Police probe man's killing as PS linked to shooting. That is the story of Fikirini Jacobs. Now, election lawyers face steep IEBC pay cuts. Wamesema nini? Negotiated fee cuts lowered verified election-related legal claims from 4.2 billion shillings to 2.9 billion shillings before settlement. So initially, the claim was at 4.2 billion shillings. They have negotiated. Now it's at 2.9 billion shillings.
Okay.
Akia Mungu mimi nataka kuwa wakili.
Ukianza kusoma saa hii.
Akia Mungu.
At least ukifika to 2027 hivi, you finish year 1.
Yeah.
Just start. Petitions zinakuja, then you can be enjoying.
To know IEBC.
Kwenda uko.
2.9 billion. You can share that money. You know. Anyway, the president woos voters with projects. Now, administration has touted achievements in housing, provision of subsidized fertilizer, and introduction of new healthcare system. So, cabinet approvals and allocations seek to demonstrate that campaign promises are being fulfilled. In 2026, elections in 2027.
Yeah.
Tumefanya kazi. Si mumeona barabara imepita hapa. Mmepata maji kwa tap.
No.
Yeah. Oh. Si sorry. Yes.
Okay, so yes.
Ruto's fresh cabinet dilemma after High Court decision on gender rule. That story is on page 7 as we head to page 8 now. It's a decision by a judge, broad-based government lacks constitutional basis.
Sai.
So it says Mbadi, Joho, Wandai, Oparanya, and host of ODM officials and members joined the government of the 2024 protest. So according to Justice Jairus Nga, nomination of members of parties other than the ruling party in the absence of merger was an assault of identification of Kenya as a multi-party democracy. In short, broad-based government that now is in power
has no base,
has no constitutional basis.
So it's just broad.
It's just broad.
That's no base.
There's no base.
Okay.
Now, lawmakers, Babu Murango at top according to the InfoTrack poll. So the best performing legislators out there, Babu Owino, Amajimbo Kalasinga, Kamau Murango, John Methu, Njeri, and Rael Kasiwa. So citizens reward leaders they perceive as accountable. This includes how they explain decisions, communicate the use of public resources, respond to questions, and handle public scrutiny. That is according to InfoTrack CEO Angela Ambitho. So to legislators out here who are doing an amazing job, get your flowers, man. Your job is being seen because the people who were giving the results were wananchi from those specific jurisdictions, constituencies, and counties. So if wananchi are saying you're doing an amazing job, we keep on saying kazi yako itaoneka
na
itakuongelele,
yeah,
wananchi watakwambi,
yeah. Okay.
Tuangalia star.
On the Star, top-ranked MP set sights on governor seats. Of course, we know Embakasi East, Member of Parliament, with an 80% ranking. That's really good. Really, really good. Babu Owino is running. Well, it seems as though he would run for Nairobi governor. Didmas Barasa, Kimilili MP with 73%. Kenyans have said he's done well. Mark Nyamita. Uriri. Somebody to my left.
Yes.
Is his constituent.
Akwavi.
He's 71%. Mumesema amefanya kazi mzuri. David Ocheng is the Ugenya Member of Parliament. Mohammed Ali is the Nyali Member of Parliament. Omboko Milemba is the Emuhaya Member of Parliament with 69%. Makali Mulu is the Kitui Central Member of Parliament. Tim Wanyonyi, Westlands Member of Parliament. James Gakuya, Embakasi North. And Kamau Murango, Kirinyaga. It's interesting because from this select, there are a number of them who are running for governor.
Yep.
They have made known their intent. And so is it possible that based on their performance as members of parliament, that Kenyans might actually give them the go-ahead to be the governor of a particular county?
Now that, as compared to what is happening in the office of the IG, kuna tofauti.
But sasa you unaona. There needs to be something that we can have.
Yeah.
Sasa, the story on page 2. Voke. Fake Viagra and bogus ARVs have been swept off the shelves. Sorry. Those things that people have been using. It's a lie. It's not happening anymore.
Thinking bang a blue pill, it's purple. Purple rain.
It's just
rain.
chalk. Fake Viagra and bogus ARV swept off shelves. Can you imagine what people have been ingesting for the longest time? And then akuna kitu ndani, literally.
I was actually listening to the doctor yesterday at Kwansema. That is why Kwanza just said, men, you buy this thing before you know it. Umebaki hapo.
By yourself.
You're not moving.
No. We have to be very careful about some of these things. Actually, the Poisons Board, these things that get onto the shelves, they normally have to get clearance, exactly, from the board. I wonder what happens. The Naivasha Malaba SGR expansion begins in Narok, and Canada has honored a Kenyan cop for exemplary service. Now, sorry, but the cop is actually in Canada.
Yeah.
Sorry. Kenyan-born Constable Malaba recognized by Ottawa Police Service for promoting inclusive policing, strengthening engagement with communities.
Kenyan-born?
Yeah. Well done, sir.
See, he has dual citizenship.
Unataka rudi huko.
Let's apply kwa IG. His work has been seen.
Well, Governor hopefuls register strong show in poll ranking of MPs. Of course, that's the story that's on front page of the Star. AI could make it harder for graduates to land first job. Really? How so? Kenya records rise in cruise tourists as sector rebounds. And we know that this is cruise season. Yeah. A lot of people are getting on ships and floating around the world. The miners in the Mishu school fires are going to be detained until September. That case was up for mention yesterday. The girls took plea. And I think it was interesting to note that the judge insisted that they be protected from the glare of the media by children officers. So they actually stood in front of them during that. At the same time, the judge insisted that they be referred to as suspect minors because they are still children. But they took plea and they all pleaded guilty. There are 16 murder charges preferred against... They pleaded not guilty, I beg your pardon. The charges were murder, but they pleaded not guilty. And there's 16 murder charges that are being preferred against these 8 girls. And they've said, we're going to go to trial. This is what the judge said. 8 students detained over the Utumishu Girls Fire Academy fire that killed 16 will remain in custody until September, when the High Court will rule on the bond application. Justice Diana Kavedza of the Kibera High Court in Nairobi said she will inform parties if her court is ready to deliver the ruling by September 22nd. The 8 minors were yesterday charged with murder after the fire tragedy that investigators say was an arson attack. They all denied the charges. The lawyers asked the court that they be released on bond, but the application was opposed by both the prosecution and lawyers representing families of the victims. At least 79 students were injured during the May 28th attack. Yikes, that's what it looks like. We take into consideration all of those things. So the headlines look like this morning. Conversation with Professor Kagwanja follows. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembor. 8 students from Utumishi Girls Academy in Nakuru will remain in custody until 22nd September after the High Court in Kibera ordered their continued detention. The students who appeared before Justice Diana Kavedza are accused of the murder of 16 classmates who died in a school fire. Justice Kavedza ruled that a suspect should remain in custody to allow the prosecution to complete its investigations.
I would request the parents of the minors and the defense team to implore the children to be patient. Justice moves very slowly in murder cases. It will move very slowly because the victims are many, the minors are very many. It means the probation officer has to go to one home, interview one parent, interview they know how to do their work, go to the next home. You are therefore looking at 2 months before I can get that report, so take a deep breath and rest. That ruling will be delivered in September when the court resumes from recess.
While reading the charges, Justice Kavedza read out the full names of the 16 deceased students.
On the same night of 27th, 28th May at Utumishi Girls Academy at Gilgil Sub-County within Nakuru County, all of you, the 8 of you, you murdered Purity Naisula Obiki. Subject 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Okay. Again, the 8 of you, on the same night of 27th, 28th May at Utumishi Girls Academy, you murdered Precious Njeri Kanyore. Is it true? Subject 1. Count 3. On the same night of 27th, 28th May, at the same school, you are jointly charged for murdering Imani Toroitich Boyd. Is it true or not true?
Meanwhile, Utumishi Girls Academy in Nakuru will begin a first reopening today with Form 4 students reporting first. The remaining learners are expected back next Monday, and the reopening follows a meeting between parents and education stakeholders who agreed on measures to ease congestion in dormitories, improve safety standards, and ensure a reliable water supply. Parents also called for the immediate use of dormitories that were not affected by the fire and gave the government 1 month to begin construction of a new dormitory. Rift Valley Regional Director of Education James Indimuli says the Ministry of Education has appointed a new principal as part of administrative changes aimed at restoring stability at a school.
There shouldn't be anything straining the relation between the teachers and the admin and the students. The TSC posts professionally qualified people to schools. She's a new principal. She's coming from a school just like this one. I don't foresee any trouble. Actually, the other principal who left has not done anything to incite the ones she has left behind or anything. We believe that it will be a smooth takeover.
The Independent Policing Oversight Authority has launched investigations into alleged abductions, disappearances, unlawful detentions and injuries linked to the 25th June Gen Z anniversary protest. IPOA says it deployed monitoring teams during the demonstrations and is documenting complaints from the public. The authority is investigating reports of missing persons, alleged excessive use of force, and claims that some officers operated in plain clothes, wore balaclavas and used unmarked vehicles in violation of court orders. Investigators have recorded statements from alleged victims in Nairobi and Nakuru and provided psychosocial support to some of them. IPOA is also monitoring fresh protests in parts of Nairobi, including Mathare, Huruma and Kariobangi North. The authority has assured the public of impartial investigations, urged police to uphold human rights and professionalism, and called on the public to demonstrate peacefully and share information relevant to their investigations. And that's the news. I'm Sheila Timbur.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They're being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They're being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
I am also a publicly elected official.
Okay.
My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante
We will
sana.
always be here.
The government itself is engaging in corrupt practices. That the government itself deliberately schemes to influence through bribery members of parliament.
You pay for a passport online, Alafu you're told there are no booklets.
I rebuke matters corruption, because corruption has brought this country to its knees.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation at exactly 7 a.m. And we continue with the conversations this morning. Nduh Okoh is not here. On the captain seat is me, Dennis Aseto, all the way as Nduh proceeds to have the second conversations with Jimi Wanjigi on where we find ourselves today and matters to do with economy. But as we speak at the moment, we are going to have a conversation around the xenophobia and the ejection of immigrants from South Africa. And to have this conversation with us is Professor Peter Kagwanja, who is a historian and a professor when it comes to matters to do with foreign policy. Karibu sana.
Asante sana, Dennis.
Yes.
How are you?
Salama sana.
Very good.
Good to see you, Prof. Before we get into the conversation, let's just go to the proverb that we have this morning. And the proverb comes from a country again in South Africa. We are in Lesotho, the country that is known as a kingdom in the sky. Why? Because it is the one country in the world that is over 1,000 meters above sea level. So if you want to experience the snow falling, you just need to go to Lesotho and enjoy that. You talk about the Basotho blanket because it gets really cold. It is part and parcel of the national outlook, the national regalia. There's also that hat that also appears in the that appears in the flag, which is also a national monument, a national symbol for them. But the proverb that we get this morning says, when you want to deal with a problem, you do that early. So let's go to the proverb straight up. You fix a child when they are still young. How would you interpret it? What do you think they're saying?
You fix a child when they are still young.
Yes.
Yeah, it's related to the whole idea of a young tree, which is a very common proverb also within Eastern Africa, where you say you can only shape the tree when it is young. When it's grown, it's firm, and you can't change it much. So it is true that if you want really to make a man out of a child or a woman out of a child, then you have to start nurturing early enough. And it applies to everything in life. If you want to change habits, you don't change them at the late hours of the day. You do that very, very early in the morning.
Very early in the morning. Well said, Prof. But let's jump straight into where we find ourselves today as a continent. A continent with over 54 countries. One of them has said no to the rest of the citizens from the continent, South Africa. It has been touted as xenophobia. This is not the first incident that we see. It happened in 2008. There are three other incidents that have happened before. But where we find ourselves is where many have actually touted it not to be xenophobia, but Afrophobia, the fear of the African people, the black person. And with that, then, one asks the question, Prof, how did we end up here? How has South Africa found itself that it's saying no to its fellow Africans?
It's correct to say that what Africa is experiencing in South Africa is a new version of apartheid. Basically, it's a spin-off of the politics of apartheid, which was itself very xenophobic. Xenophobic in the sense that even the Africans, as Africans, South African blacks are themselves victims of xenophobia, white xenophobia. That's why they were taken to Bantustans and closed in there. And even the question of white settlement in South Africa was xenophobic. They essentially alienated lands and pushed the Africans out of there. So when you're talking about the Xhosa, this is the Mandela community, or the Zulus, most of them have experienced centuries of xenophobic invasion by white people who think that they don't belong there, and therefore they will be tracked. And there are multiple examples from particularly where the British decided to settle in South Africa, and at that time the dominant people were the Afrikaans, or people of Dutch and continental European origin. The British in Cape Town, from the Cape, moving inside, basically went there through xenophobic movements. And therefore it has always been a white versus black affair. And despite what we are going through, being seen as, African, or what you can call black on black violence, at the heart of it is the racial question. And the beneficiaries of this wave of xenophobia are actually white immigrants. It is not targeting whites. It's essentially targeting blacks. I lived in South Africa, I would say from 2000 all the way up to 2010. But I started moving my family out in 2008 after the xenophobia of that time. Because as a historian and a political scientist, and who was at that time very close to the government of the day of President Thabo Mbeki, I saw it coming. I saw Thabo himself, the president, became a target of xenophobia as the person who was articulating the radical Pan-African opinion, as opposed to Jacob Zuma, who was now on the other side of ethno-nationalism in South Africa. And the 2008 change of guard at that time was underpinned by this undercurrent of anti-Africa. It is not anti-migration, the way you would argue that you are against immigrants. No, it was outrightly, Afrophobia. And I was at that time executive director at the Human Sciences Research Council. Ironically or paradoxically, the think tank that established apartheid, and which Mandela and Thabo Mbeki had reconfigured now as the institute or a think tank that was now to midwife South Africa's new foreign policy which is pro-African or African-centered. And I could see my colleagues, whites and others, doing research. And even at the level of being an executive director, you'd be sidelined because they want to push a certain agenda. I remember there was one study which was very controversial within the institute in 2008. And even executive, you'd feel that you are being marginalized because the think tank is government funded. And they would argue about how foreigners are basically undermining South Africa. Now, let me give you the context in which you find this the whole policy behind this xenophobia. The idea of apartheid was to make South Africa a white tip of a black continent, and therefore South Africa must be white. And every policy, largely by Western organizations and think tanks and all, is that South Africa is white. And making South Africa white means weakening African opinion, weakening African population, weakening African business, weakening African, all the pillars or the towering heights of African presence in South Africa, whether you're talking about financial, you're talking about education, but more importantly, weakening the demographic power of the African people. Some people have argued, and I don't either agree or disagree, but that even HIV/AIDS, the prevalence of HIV/AIDS in South Africa had much to do with population control at that point. I wouldn't go deeper into that because it requires you to demonstrate. But I want to fruit that thought, because even the leadership of the time, Thabo Mbeki and others, were questioning. Even Wangari Maathai almost lost her Nobel Peace Prize because of that particular opinion. I don't want to lose mine, so allow me not to get deeper into that. But the battle for the demographic power in South Africa is big and has intensified as mainstream white political parties begin to regain the edge that they had lost to the ANC. And it is not a surprise that the new wave, brutal as it is, of xenophobia has come after the 2019 general election. So that provides. Now, before that, becoming South Africa and voting in South Africa was easy because only whites could vote before 1994. I have said again that I and my family, Monica and I, queued and voted for Thabo Mbeki in South Africa. We had arrived in 2000, 2001. We stayed there 2002, 2003. By 2004, we were what do they call green barcode?
Yes,
which is a permanent residency status. We bought our house and settled there in South Africa. Got our jobs at the highest level, in that country as foreigners, and voted for the president and whoever else was in Gauteng province. Now all that has been reversed by the government. So in short, South Africa is now very dangerous for black population. And the reason is that you have to control the demographics and the economic power of the black population so that you can create a path for white population to dominate South Africa as a white tip of a black continent.
Yeah, because Prof has just painted a picture of where immigrants like yourself, you were there, you were working, and you had an opportunity to even vote, to cast a ballot and make a decision on who would be leading you. But you find ourselves today where Africans are not needed, especially those they say are illegal immigrants, and many have said it's because they've come here to take our jobs. The immigrants are here, they're driving good cars as we don't have. Is there any credence or truth in that? Or is there hidden messaging that the world is not being told?
If you look at Kenya, which was modeled along the same policies as South Africa, there were certain colonies that were, defined by the British as white man's countries. And these white man's countries were South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Kenya. These were white man's country. If you read Dramea's records and you read, colonial scholars, white man's countries. And white man's countries simply meant limiting the capacity of the black person to become anything apart from being labor. And only allowing a very few to acquire certain skills, not for their benefit, but the benefit of the white economy. And therefore, when you look at the nature of schooling, can you imagine our first president was trained as a mason, a builder, that's all, and a carpenter, that's all, until he resisted basically and gave himself a different occupation. Many people were trained as as nurses, and so on. So the thrust of the apartheid system, or this so-called white man's countries, was to ensure that there does not arise skilled people who can be economically independent and stand on their feet. Now, that is the legacy of apartheid in South Africa. And now, viewed against the development of other African countries, because South Africa becomes independent after 1994, and even then, unfortunately, the leadership of the period, this was my main criticism of Thabo Mbeki and Nelson Mandela's countries, they did not prioritize what makes a person. Yeah. They prioritized the body, not the brain. And they prioritized, when they moved to the brain, they didn't go to the brain, they went straight to the soul. So it's the clergy who are important. They did not prioritize education the way, Robert Mugabe did in Zimbabwe, or the way Jomo Kenyatta did in Kenya. Because these are the leaders, Mandela, Kenyatta, and Robert Mugabe. These are three leaders. Mugabe was the most accomplished of all of them, because he saw the liberation of his people in education, not in acquisition of land first. And therefore, when they came to acquiring land, Zimbabweans had moved far and wide into Zambia. Some were here, others were in South Africa, so they advanced. The same came with Samora Machel in Mozambique. And remember, Mozambique, Angola, and other Portuguese colonies were governed with the same principle of just producing a white man's country with the whites as the kitchen, in the kitchen or in the farm. They were not in the industry, they were not to be in the economy. And therefore, Samora Machel also moved now to re-educate himself. Remember, he himself, he was trained as a nurse. Yes. He was simply a nurse. So you have a president who is not trained in leadership skills. That whatever he had, he trained himself. And he went ahead now to train his people to become everything for his country. And the result is that South Africa became surrounded by black population that is more educated, that has higher business acumen than the South Africans themselves. And therefore, when the blacks move in, they now are able to occupy. Look at me. Let me give you my example so that you see where we are getting. When I was hired at the Human Sciences, before I was hired in the Human Sciences Research Council, I was working for I was working for a kind of a think tank, which was kind of having an informal relationship with the office of the president, and the purpose was to help establish, the African Union, because at that time Thabo Mbeki was championing, the institutionalization of Pan-Africanism and its transformation economically under the idea, the mantra or idea of African Renaissance. So the African Renaissance project, as Mandela and Mbeki's project, was the integration of South Africa to the rest of Africa and the flow of South African capital onto the continent, mining and so on. And at the same time, the bringing of the skills from the continent into South Africa. So I went to South Africa, I traveled from Chicago in the United States of America to South Africa under what they call business visa, to establish NEPAD and the Africa Peer Review Mechanism. That was a visa on my passport, Kenyan passport, issued not in Kenya, but issued in the United States, Chicago. So I landed in Johannesburg as a business expert with a business visa to establish NEPAD, to help establish NEPAD. Now, we rose up the ranks, and by 2007, I was now heading a major institution. But before then, foreign organization, the International Crisis Group, had come, and they are looking around to see whether there's anybody from South Africa they can work with. The only person they could find is myself and others. So many of us as Africans, particularly Kenyans, Nigerians, Ghanaians, and Zimbabweans, were literally hired by most institutions in South Africa that needed a knowledge base. So it is therefore that I became the executive director of a government think tank that is answerable to Parliament. You know what happened? By 2008, it became impossible for us even to govern. Because I had, South African government had to hire a person who was junior to me to manage me as a manager.
Which doesn't make sense.
No, it didn't make sense. I didn't fight with it because that was not my country. but I read the writings on the wall that I have to go back to my country.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that time is when also Kenya needed, its citizen to come back. But to begin to imagine that there is a specific officer, I will not mention his name. We co-authored a book together, which is interesting. We co-authored a book with him, but he was purposely hired to attend meetings that I cannot attend as a non-national, as a non-South African. Not because he's senior to me. He's actually working under me. But there are certain board meetings, certain meetings because of the nature of this think tank that could not allow me to go, for example, to NSAC of the National Security Council and so on. And it's the same case with my wife, who was heading a parallel think tank there, that there is always this other person called the president who now guides the executive. So apartheid was institutionalized within the structures of South Africa, and it is built into that. So to answer your question straight, there is no substance in what is being said about Africans taking jobs. Actually, they are creating jobs. One of the institutes in South Africa last year, studied, wrote a report on something called Somalinomics. In other words, the economics of Somali people. And because the Somali population that moved from Somalia to South Africa as refugees is now established as one of the mainstream business community. They are simply saying that they are wiping out black entrepreneurs. But there were no black entrepreneurs to start with from the beginning. So again, this is something we need to look at. But I would say all this is fake news, which is peddled through social media, the hate speeches, and misinformation about the Africans in South Africa. But the end game is basically to weaken the demographic power of the black people, both South Africans and Africans, or South Africans of African descent, whether migrants, refugees, or in whichever form they entered the Republic of South Africa.
So, Prof, you've just painted a picture of when what former President Mandela and Mbeki did, and theirs was to integrate South Africa to be united, and as well import what will be skills from the rest of the continent to come and help build the nation. But we also come from the fact that other African nations played refuge to would-be South Africans who were running away from apartheid or the struggle for independence at the time. And with that, Africa help South Africa be what it is today, and many are saying with that South Africa has forgotten who was backing it during the difficult times and are choosing to now rewrite history that does not look really good for them. One asks the question, what does this do to a country that has for a very long time positioned itself as a spokesperson or the big boy, the big man in the room when it comes to African affairs?
You see, I used to publish the flagship publication for South Africa called The State of the Nation. It's a book that would be published every year. It started long before I went there, edited largely by white scholars, Roger Southall and others, very accomplished scholars, and my friends. We have also co-authored books with them. And the State of the Nation, basically in 2008, which I edited, was very informative of the nature of South African society. South African society, the black population within the ANC, the African Freedom Party, and all these emerging parties in South Africa, which are aligned to the black politics, is a very divided society. And therefore, they have a different perception of Pan-Africanism or African solidarity, completely different. Now, in that book publication of 2008, we came up with the two concepts. that defined the two South Africans, black South Africans living side by side in terms of their mentality and perception of the visions of the future of the continent. The first group were the exiles. And the exiles now here were signified by Thabo Mbeki. Before that, we had, other people, Oliver Tambo. Nelson Mandela was in that group because he benefited a lot from outside, from the inspiration by the Kenya's Mau Mau movement, connections with Cuba, and Muammar Gaddafi and others who are friends of South Africa. And therefore, South African exiles were part and parcel of the Pan-African opinion, perhaps even the radical wing of the African Pan-African opinion. And in that regard, therefore, they stayed in Tanzania, they stayed in Kenya, they stayed in Nigeria, and so on. And these are the people we knew as South Africans. The Nigerians would introduce in their primary schools a shilling for South Africa's freedom. Every child who is paying school fees, you have to contribute a shilling. And so here, in different ways, we contributed there. And we married their daughters, and they married us. They married. Their daughters married to our sons, and their sons married our daughters as well. So, by the time we are reaching 2008, we have cabinet ministers who are Kenyans. We have vice chancellors in universities who are essentially Kenyans because they spend all their times in Kenya. We have others who are Tanzanians. We have others who are Zambians. So the exiles were basically the face of South Africa to many of us. And therefore we had that solidarity. Until you go inside and now discover another reality. Another thrust of South African population, the larger contingent of that population who are exiles. Exiles as opposed to exiles. The exiles were those who really struggled from within South Africa. And their logic was not essentially to join the rest of Africa. They actually did not even know the rest of Africa. They did not even know the support they were getting from the rest of the continent. They just knew that they were fighting battles with apartheid, with the white racist regime, and therefore they honed their skills about doing that. And they toyed, they banned, they had things they were calling the links, where they would use tires to ban those who are traitors and so forth. So it was black violence violence on what they call black violence on blacks. And the exiles hated immigrants because they believed that they were brought in to take off their jobs. Which is true because during the apartheid period, Mozambicans, Malawians, Zambians were brought by train and to the mines where they were not paid. It is their governments that were paid. So you come to South Africa, you work, but you don't get anything except substance, and then you go back. So the point, therefore, is that you are looking at two South Africa living side by side. One, the exiles, those who knew Africa and shared the vision of Africa, and then the exiles, those who were bred inside and did not even know that. Actually, I had staff in my think tank who would ask me, Professor, when are you going to Africa? I am in South Africa, and they're asking me when I'm going to Africa.
Yeah, Professor, let's take a short commercial break, look at the weather. When you come back, we continue to look at what this really means for South Africa moving forward if they are alienated because there is businesses with other African countries. We've seen that even the artists now being cancelled, businesses are suffering, South African businesses. What does this mean, and where is the position of African Union when it comes to such position that we find ourselves in the continent? We take a short commercial break. We look at the weather and traffic. Traffic update brought to you by Chloride Oxide. And the traffic situation we find ourselves in this morning is we look at Thika Road, where it is pretty busy, especially as you approach towards the Garden City, towards KCA University. At Mudaiga underpass there is busy, towards Gara is busy. We go to Jogoo Road and it is busy in Jogoo Road as you get towards the Likoni area, towards Landis Road is busy. Many are using the roads this morning. We come to the Eastern Bypass and it is busy around Embakasi Police Station. It is packed bumper to bumper around Cabanas, roundabout interchange rather, is busy. And if you are using the road on those sides, be sure to be careful as you do that. That is the traffic this hour. More in an hour.
Traffic update was brought to you by Chloride Oxide. Wherever the road takes you these days, stay powered by Chloride Oxide. Get total peace of mind on the highway with the premium Oxide battery range backed by a rock-solid 18-month manufacturer's warranty. Chloride Oxide, inside from Chloride Oxide.
Yaya Sidewalk Sale is here. From 29th June to 5th July, enjoy up to 50% off on selected items at participating stores. Make your end-of-month budget go further with amazing deals on fashion, beauty, home essentials, electronics, and more. Don't miss a week of incredible savings and rewarding shopping. Yaya Center. Why go anywhere else?
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is exactly 39 minutes after 7 a.m. and we continue with the conversations here on the xenophobia that the continent finds itself, especially coming from South Africa, where we see that other African nationals have been ejected. Kenya just received the second batch of citizens coming from South Africa, with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying that others are being processed to be brought back home. Professor, before we went to the break, you had brought in the dichotomy of exiles and insiles, right? Mm-hmm. And with that, many are asking, with all that is happening in the country, yesterday we saw the demonstrators who were being escorted by police officers to make sure that there is no illegality. They do not injure, they do not attack these immigrants. But one asks the question, why is the South African government?
I think you need to stay with that dichotomy between the exiles and the insiles. And it is those South Africans who lived on the continent, who worked on the continent, and who made families on the continent, and who were supported by the continent, who have allegiance to the continent. And my argument, in the past and today, was that this group has been increasingly edged out, and they are now kind of confined to certain think tanks in South Africa, and where their influence is not felt. It all started, Mandela was one of the Mandela presidency was largely dominated by the exiles. The Beckett presidency had exiles, but also Beckett managed to put together a team of serious South Africans who share the Pan-African opinion and who shared the dream of African Renaissance, right? And as a result, then we had that strength. But after 2008, and this is the same date, March 2008, when the first serious wave of xenophobia started. And by the end of that year, around October, there was the Polokwane kind of ANC meeting, which edged Mbeki out of the ANC itself. And eventually, he was marched out of office in a very embarrassing situation, which if Mbeki really reacted as a president, South Africa would not have held together. It would have gone to civil war. But somehow he was sober enough and is a man of conscience. He left the office under that humiliation by these young people who were sent by the ANC to recall the president back to the ANC headquarters. And that, to me, signaled the end of the era of the exiles. And now we begin to see Jacob Zuma, who was the in-between, because he's the person as the chief of intelligence under apartheid, with the ANC and apartheid. He was the one who was moving from inside to outside, and he was the link. And you might see Jacob, or as they call him, Uncle Mzolozi, as a person who is not very clever, but he was one of the most intelligent South Africans, because with the largest experience, and Jacob was himself embedded on the Asian population, particularly the Asian elite, because the Asians were also against apartheid, but they were privileged, just like here in Kenya, they were privileged. So they have their own dynamics of politics. So they are exiles. They are not exiles, but would not mind taking advantage of the exile.
Yeah.
So when Jacob Zuma came in, then he ushered in the era of exiles. And the rest of the story is very clear. It is the decline of the Pan-Africanism in South Africa. And very, very quickly, they moved to what they call the economic diplomacy. Economic diplomacy is basically pushing hard economic interests without caring about the ideological base of Pan-Africanism, because it was very difficult to sell the idea of Africa into South Africa. And of course, the South Africans themselves bought the idea that they are more superior to the rest of the continent because they are in this white tip in a black continent. And that self-consciousness that we are more superior, or that our country is better, the others are what Trump would call S-hole countries. The essence of it, therefore, is that as we speak, South Africa is going through two transformations. One is the return of apartheid, ideology, because it's now a power-sharing government between the former apartheid rulers and the exiles. Cyril Ramaphosa essentially was opened to the international community. I worked for Ramaphosa as the executive director of International Crisis Group there, and he was in the executive board. So is this a person I met, and he's thoroughly a Pan-African, although he led the trade union, COSATU. But trade unionism, as you know, would expose people. So Cyril Ramaphosa represented a very special and unique category of South African population that were between the exiles and the exiles. Just because the labor movement, by its very nature, is exposed, and by the very idea of international solidarity of the working class. And he therefore had moved to Geneva, had moved to Africa, and moved to other parts as a Secretary General of COSATU and as a trade unionist. So, but he's one of the very few. And he also does not come from the main communities that produce the bulk of the xenophobes. These are the Zulus and the Xhosas, because these are the communities that really hold key to the politics of that country. And therefore, as we speak, what we are facing is, a black government where the former apartheid sympathizers and the exiles are now coming together, and both fear the power of a black population that may not support them, because we are not talking about us as Africans. We are talking about us versus them. We as South Africans and them as Makwere. That's what they call us.
Okay.
Those who are in South Africa and are not South Africans are called, whether you have papers or you are a citizen or you are naturalized, it doesn't matter to them. You are a Makwere. In other words, you are speaking in languages that we cannot understand. So the Makwere concept essentially is not a legal concept, it's a sociological concept that ensures that you don't belong to South Africa. And when we talk about us versus them in the South African situation, it doesn't matter whether you are there or not. Look at this example of this South African girl, born in South Africa by a South African parent and a Nigerian father. a very beautiful girl, a mixture of two sides of the continent, west and south. And emerges as the top of the picture in the beauty context. And she's basically kicked out of that beauty context. She cannot represent South Africa because she's not South African. So you're not talking about jobs. You're not talking about our jobs. You're not talking about, even when you yourself is a contribution to the diplomacy of South Africa through your beauty, they don't want it. That's how serious this incel business is, and the rebirth of apartheid in South Africa is. And we are not about to see this changing, because the former apartheid rulers or the generation is deepening in, whether at home or abroad. Look at the backlash that President Cyril Ramaphosa is facing with the United States. Why? It is racist, white racist in the United States. Those who are born and brought up in South Africa, that privilege of apartheid, now who are haunting South Africa from their comfort in New York, Washington, and Los Angeles. They feed into another, populist, Donald Trump, that South Africa is basically against whites. So the resurgence of whiteness in South Africa, backed by blackness that was already oppressed and alienated from the rest of the continent, is what is now producing this xenophobia. And we are not about to see it decline. It's not something you can do. The African Union, I would say, and I'm sure this is a debate we can push further, the African Union need to go to the drawing board and see how we are going to bring about the resurgence of Pan-Africanism.
And I think that's where I wanted actually to go next, because if you look at the overall goal of the African Union is a borderless continent, a borderless Africa, where it doesn't matter that I'm a Kenyan. I can go live in South Africa, do business in South Africa, and still come back home, go to Rwanda, go to any other African country, and be seen as an African and not a Kenyan. While being Kenyan is important, we agree, but that would not matter because you are in the continent. I'm going to give you an example of the 27 blocks of the EU. You get the Schengen visa, you can go anywhere, work anywhere, and it is okay. That is what Africa has been pushing for a very long time. Have the African passport. With what we're seeing currently happening in South Africa, does that still remain being a reality? And what must Africa Union and the leaders of African countries do to ensure that Pan-Africanism is entrenched not only on the macro level, but the citizens, the micro level, understand the importance of Pan-Africanism?
First and foremost, we must admit that we are seeing a lot of backpedaling within the government of South Africa. As a result of what we have talked about, a new, evil alliance between the anti-African incels and the former ideologues of the apartheid regime. That connection, not necessarily that, but the champions of whiteness in South Africa, the champions of whiteness and the champions of blackness, who see the rest of the continent as the other than being part of the black continent, is now what is shaping South Africa's policy towards Africa. And therefore, now from the African continent, looking at the African inside, there are very few people who have taken this kind of dichotomy. I personally would not have taken it if I didn't live, in South Africa long enough and at the policy thinking level. If I could not have distinguished what is now happening. But looking at it from that lens, where we are seeing that the coalition that is ruling South Africa only see Africa as an outpost where they can go and invest. That's why their banks, Absa and others, are coming to the continent. Their security companies like G4S and others are here. The mining companies are everywhere on the continent, and so on. But they cannot see the connection between what they are doing and the broader, Pan-African agenda of basically empowering the continent as one, uniting the continent along the lines of Kwame Nkrumah's United States of Africa, or Mama Gaddafi's, or Kenyatta's idea that Africa is one. I don't think they think so. For them, they are beneficiaries of white Western capital, which has dominated South Africa. And that capital is the one that is now riding on Pan-Africanism. And it did very well under Thabo Mbeki, because Thabo Mbeki is an economist. Knowingly or unknowingly, he himself became a conduit of white capital from the South African coming to the continent. Here in Kenya, and in many other countries where there was that consciousness, there's a serious backlash against a takeover by South Africa. And that, of course, estranged South Africa and Africa from the fact that we were resisting their investments, which was not investment, it was basically a takeover of businesses. But now when they came in as investments, ABSA and others have found it very easy to operate on the continent, and so to say. South Africa has been the champion. I stated, and I want to repeat that. I was hired in South Africa among the many African experts who are now part of my network, from Sierra Leone, from Zambia, from Kenya here, across the continent, Egypt. We were all converged in South Africa, because at that time, only South Africa was investing in the project of Pan-Africanism. And when they were investing in the project of Pan-Africanism, transforming the Organization of African Unity into the African Union, it was not about removing the O in the Organization of African Unity in order to produce African Union. It was a serious ideological agenda, which has now produced what we see today. The African Union, its peace and security architecture, and its larger secretariat, which is basically the most powerful continental government. To be sure, African Union as constituted, if the African leadership takes it seriously, is more powerful than the European Union. European Union is a pale shadow of what we have there in Addis Ababa. It is a problem of commitment of our leadership, particularly on the financial front. I've not seen any African country that has set aside a budget to finance. In other words, when we read our budget, I've never seen any item saying support for our continental government. We have the support for the counties. We have the support for the national government, but not for our continental government. Yet, we are part and parcel of an emerging continental government that is hiring even our top officials. Raila Odinga spent 5 years as a leader of the African Union, and he died fighting to lead the continent on that. Why? Because as Kenyans, we have those 3 tiers. In South Africa, that was there under Mbeki. Now it is not. Therefore, we have this Africa Free Trade Zone,
Free Trade Area.
Yes, area which is the largest, trade area ever in human history. With 54 or 55 countries, if you don't want to, if you want to make Morocco angry, because they don't think Sahrawi is part of that. But the African Union has 55 countries. Now, and South Africa is supposed to be part of this, and actually a champion of this.
How is what is happening right now then denting South Africa's position in the African Union? Because remember, you've just said that it is an important and serious investor initially, especially when it comes to Pan-Africanism in the African Union. With what we're seeing right now, how is that denting its influence even in the African Union or even in African affairs?
It is seriously, because it is a situation where you want to preach water and drink wine. Now, as we speak, the Mozambican leadership is withdrawing its population from South Africa to avoid the deaths that are occurring. On the pipeline now are almost 500 Mozambicans to be ferried back to the country. Kenya is doing the same. Nigeria is doing the same. Ghana is doing the same. African countries, the leading African countries, are basically now repatriating their population from South Africa. In other words, South Africa does not want the input of Africans in their country. Now, how can South Africa now think that it is going to have an input on the continent? And remember, South Africa has been taken by countries like China and other major global powers as the voice of the African continent. For many years, South Africa has represented us in the G20. And very few people have complained. South Africa has represented us in the BRICS, right?
Yes.
We've not complained. South Africa has more than twice represented us in the United Nations Security Council. We've not complained. And South Africa has been a voice in most of these occasions. The leadership around Cyril Ramaphosa in South Africa is a credible voice of the continent. In fact, their voice is more credible to us than the voices we have in Nairobi, Addis Ababa, and elsewhere. Particularly when it comes to serious issues affecting humanity, whether you're talking about what is happening in Palestine, what is happening in Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Russia, and so on. And even the global humanistic opinion, South African leadership and around Ramaphosa. But these are people who are in an enclave, in a country of xenophobes. And these xenophobes are coming in two colors, black xenophobes and xenophobes of whiteness. And the combination of that black and white xenophobia is what is basically the undoing of South Africa when it comes to its interest on the continent. South Africa can never ever become a leading power without riding on the back of South Africa. So I think they need to take a kind of a missionary approach within South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa, and I'm speaking to him, he has basically to take a very serious missionary approach to the Bantustans, to the homelands, to all these slums called Soweto, Kairichia, and so on, and teach South Africans that they are Africans.
Yes.
Now, we don't mind if the African Union can take a kind of a Marshall Plan and then give South Africans from the Bantustans opportunities in our universities in their thousand. Out of the 54 countries, with all the universities we have, within 3 years, we will have produced a South African who is a South African, who is an African.
Yes.
But they need to come and stay with us, like we have stayed with them and come to appreciate them.
That's a very good place to end, that we all must sit together, work together for us to see the Pan-Africanism that we are looking for, and that South Africa must look at its missionary approach and fix the problems that we see today. Professor Peter Kagwanja is the CEO, Africa Policy Institute. Asante, these conversations must continue. Right now, it is 8 a.m. time for Newswire with Sheila Tembur. Good morning.
94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Sheila Tembur. A post-mortem on the body of political mobilizer Cecil Ouma is expected today at Chiromo Mortuary as investigations into his fatal shooting continue. 7 people, including 2 bodyguards attached to Youth Affairs PS Fikirini Jacobs, have recorded statements with police. Detectives say a State Department director who was in the PS vehicle along with other witnesses have also given statements as investigators rely on forensic evidence to reconstruct the incident. Ouma was allegedly shot dead on Tuesday along Park Road shortly after the PS left a youth engagement program in Karioko. His family says he had been contracted to mobilize youths for the event and was killed while seeking transport reimbursement, accusing the bodyguards of using excessive force.
He was given 10,000 by the PS, of which this money told the guys who were waiting for the money that I only have 10,000. I don't know how we'll share it. The guy said that is too little. Instead of us fighting ourselves, just return the money to the PS. So he went back to the PS vehicle. When he got there, they were already on the highway, so there was traffic before.
Jam ilikuwa tukasikia risasi zimelia. So we rushed to that event, but at the point tulipata it was there, Park Road Primary on the perimeter wall. It says comrade was helplessly lying down.
Police say investigations are ongoing with no arrest made so far. Counterfeit Viagra, HIV rapid diagnostic test kits and dialysis meds are among the falsified medical products circulating in Kenya, raising concerns over patient safety. The Pharmacy and Poisons Board says the fake products have been detected through enhanced market surveillance. Here is PPB Director of Product Safety, Edward Abwao, speaking during the launch of the Kenya National Action Plan on Substandard and Falsified Medical Products.
Truvada is for HIV. So you can imagine if someone goes to the extent of falsifying HIV medicine. The second one is Viagra, the blue pill. So men are in danger here. The problem with this, when it refuses to work, you don't even say, you just die with your problems. Yeah? So this was discovered here in Kenya. Look at the third one. Very sad. HIV rapid diagnostic kits. And then this is the last one we got early this year, heparin, which is heparin. So heparin is used in, it's an anticoagulant.
Halsey has added earlier, the government has stepped up efforts to rid the market of substandard and counterfeit medical products and warned that the manufacture, distribution and sale of counterfeit medicines is a criminal offense that will not be tolerated.
We have to make sure that we are manning the borders to prevent any substandard or falsified products from coming in. And then there's a strengthened risk-based inspection, be it good storage and distribution practices, good manufacturing practices, and anything related to how products are handled.
We equally encourage counties to strengthen oversight of procurement process, storage facilities, and medicine distribution systems to safeguard the integrity of public pharmaceutical supply chain.
We must ensure that every medicine reaching a patient is safe, is effective, quality assured, and fit for purpose. Universal health coverage cannot succeed if the integrity of the medicines supply chain is compromised. I therefore call upon every institution represented here to provide the leadership, give us the technical advice, expertise, and the resource necessary for a very successful implementation of the National Action Plan.
And more than 2,500 migrants have been evacuated from South Africa as authorities intensify operations following nationwide anti-immigrant protest. Police say more than 900 people were arrested after Tuesday's demonstrations turned violence. Kenya has also continued evacuating its citizens, with 46 more Kenyans arriving home on Sunday, bringing the total number of returnees to 86. The latest group include children and other vulnerable people. The State Department for Diaspora Affairs says more than 200 Kenyans have expressed interest in returning home. And that's the news. I'm Sheila Timbor.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Baba should disown these experts and they say they went there on the, because he keep on telling us that these experts just you came from Dubai and you found them there already at State House looking for jobs.
Government has to live, has to introduce austerity measures. It's something that this government and the previous ones have not been able to do in this country. We've talked about it so many times.
And really, I think you have seen the modus operandi of William Samoei Ruto since he came in. It's just showbiz.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plan.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Very good morning to you, and this is the Situation Room, and this morning we take a little bit of a different location, and we're having a conversation with one that you've seen before, talking about economic issues, talking about how the nation needs to actually be saved. And we're getting into the conversation this morning with presidential aspirant and party leader of the Safina Party, Jimi Wanjigi.
Nduh, karibu. Good to see you, and good morning, everybody.
It's one of the times when you say to me, Karibu.
Yes, I did say that.
Yes, you did.
Karibu,
Yes,
karibu.
you did. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for taking the time to have this conversation with us.
Thank you.
Many people have been wanting to hear from you in terms of certain things that you're insisting that be the case, be the direction in which we're going to go for the next few months. So let's get it out of the way. First of all, I mean, I said presidential aspirant, but for all intents and purposes, you will be running for president?
Oh, yes. I said that a few weeks ago on one of your fellow media stations.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm very clear about that. I started a journey in 2021, 2022, and I intend to complete it. I am running. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Now, I'm glad you talk about the economic situation in Kenya. I think that is what has dominated our lives the last 4 to 5 years. The terrible state of our economy. And the question this coming economy this coming election rather, is about the economy of Kenya. William Ruto is running against nothing else. It's him versus the economy of Kenya. Nothing else. And if anybody is running for this seat and is unable to address the economic question, then they are failing the electorate, completely failing the electorate, because that is the key issue. Everything else is a byproduct of the failure of our economy. It is a byproduct.
What are the things you see, Jimmy, that would form this belief? It's not just something that you think about, but that you've been speaking about for a very long time.
Yes.
What are some of the indicators that you see within Kenya that would then inform this decision?
Oh, straight. You've seen unemployment. You have seen the lack of productivity. You've seen companies closing all over this country. You've seen the lack of opportunity in every single home. You've seen the high cost of taxation and the tax. Now everybody is feeling this tax burden. And you and I know, we've discussed this since 2021. The biggest burden to our lives is a debt that doesn't seem to go away. Just keeps increasing. Even though we are paying it, it doesn't go down. And if anybody is looking at the economy and not addressing debt, I can assure you they are off the mark.
You seem to be one of the only ones who is addressing the debt issue. But it's apparent to everybody that there's a problem.
Yes.
Because if we look at how much Kenya does spend and what it does then get in revenue, the numbers don't add up.
It doesn't.
But you seem to be one of the only ones who's discussing this matter. But that people complain about many things. We can't fund education. We can't fund healthcare. We can't just get enough to go around. You seem to say that the reason that we can't do those things is because the debt is just too much.
Yes. Nduh. You see, let's look at this current regime. They took over in 2022 and the debt was 9 trillion. Today it is 13 trillion. All right? That's an increase of 5 trillion, 4 trillion to our budget, to our lives. And there is no commensurate development for it. Now, I tried to explain the other day, and I'll explain it on this show. You've got to look at debt in relation to tax revenue, because we pay from our tax revenue. Now, when Moi handed over to Kibaki, we had a meager tax revenue of 200 billion shillings. And we had debt of 600 billion. So debt to tax was 3 times. So 200, 400, 600.
Right.
That ratio was quite heavy. You must remember that at the time we had a negative GDP of 1. Now, when Kibaki handed over to Uhuru Kenyatta, he handed over a tax revenue of 1 trillion. 1 trillion shillings. And revenue a tax revenue of 1 trillion and debt of 2 trillion. So it was 2 times. He had reduced the ratio. Okay? Now, when President Uhuru handed over to President Ruto, he had taken debt to 9 trillion with a tax revenue of 2. That is 4.5 times.
More than.
Right? Now we have a revenue, as was shown the other day, of 2.6 trillion. And we are at 13 trillion. We are now at 5 times. More than 5 times now. Now, the biggest burden of that is how much of our revenue we are using to pay debt. During Moi's time, he had renegotiated the debt, and he had 30%. He had gone to Paris Club in 1995. So he had 30% of the 200 billion going towards the payment of debt. Kibaki, with his brilliance on the economy, had reduced that 30% to 18% of his tax revenue, right, going towards payment of debt. So he had a leeway of almost 72%. right? That he could fund his budget. In fact, there was a point where he was not even borrowing. Then you come to Uhuru. Uhuru handed over to William Ruto 65% of his tax revenue going to debt, from 18 to 65. Now, when you're looking at tax revenue, as was gotten this last financial year, the tax revenue did not exceed 2.8, and 2.6 has gone. You're now at 81%. They tried to bring in the A&I as part of it, but we are very suspect of those figures. Now, if you're looking at that, we are 81%. How are you funding recurrent expenditure?
Well, let's break it down a little bit. When we talk about 80%, essentially what we're saying is that for every 100 shillings, because let's understand it, like 81 shillings goes towards debt repayment. So you're left with, 19 shillings to do everything else that you must do. In fact,
that figure is wrong. It's 91%. 91%.
It sounds like it would be an irresponsible government to do something like that, Jimmy. And are we being, proclamative with these numbers, or is this actually what we see on paper?
It is the truth. Now, it is the truth. Now, what happens here is that we are living a lie for all of us. Because I'll tell you, they are now have 9 shillings of every 100 to fund all of government expenditure. That is salaries. They need 60. They need 60. So they're negative 50. They need 400, I've seen, for counties. You're negative, which is 40. That's negative 100 already. You are at salaries that, and then you have operations of government. Okay, which they cost at another 600. You have pensions, 180. Where are they getting this money? Because they are now borrowing from the domestic market. If they are borrowing from the domestic market, they have also shown us the figures of what are called our financial assets. The financial assets in the market are estimated at about 9 trillion. 9 trillion. They are saying that locally, government has borrowed domestic of 7 trillion, of the 9 trillion.
Yes.
But the same financial statements say that we have, as a private sector, borrowed 4 trillion. 9 trillion, 7 trillion, but 4 trillion, that is 11. So where is this money?
Where is 2 trillion?
Yes.
Okay. If the debt on the books, which interestingly enough is 7
and then
trillion,
private sector 4, what is this domestic? Where is this money? Where is this? What's the difference between 7 and 4, and that's 11? And you say our assets are no more than 9 trillion. That is 2 trillion. We don't know where they got it from. It doesn't make sense to us.
And has all debts? I mean, because you've been quite extensive in terms of following the trail, because that's the thing about money, it will always leave a trail, especially of this nature. But you've been looking into this for some years now. Has all the debts that has been taken by Kenya been put into the two things for which it is legally allowed to do, development and then shortfall budgetary expectations, if they've actually met,
that's the great thing with this constitution of ours. It says that debt must be, Article 220, must be in the budget. So if you look in the budget, in the 10 years of Uhuru Kenyatta, because those are the years we audited, in the 10 years of Uhuru Kenyatta, only 2 trillion is in the budget. So if we found 2 trillion from Kibaki, Parliament only approved another 2 trillion. So it would have gone to 4 trillion. How did he go up to 9? It's not in the budget. It did not go to expenditure on the budget. It did not go, as the laws say, towards development. It would have been in the budget. Right? Under this regime, how much has been passed in the budget? How much?
Well, if what we're saying is that we ended at 9 trillion with Uhuru Kenyatta,
Yes.
and
We're
if the
now
current
at
debt is now at
13.
13, so 4 trillion shillings has been passed under this regime in the
Where?
last 4 years?
Where?
Is that what we're saying?
Show me in the revenue estimates.
We would see it in the revenue estimates
Yes.
that it had been passed.
Yes.
It hasn't.
It hasn't.
And this is public knowledge and
Yes.
public information.
Yes. So if it is not in the budget, it is not sovereign to us, because our laws bind our sovereignty. If it binds our sovereignty, then that debt, which is not in our budgets, was not passed by our parliament, is not sovereign to us.
So I see where you're going with this. So let's just say it. If it's not sovereign to us, it was not passed by parliament, then what is this debt?
Outright theft. Outright theft. It's nothing else. Because how was it? What did it do? If we didn't approve it, what did it do? If it did not pass our books, how? And this is very simple. What happened, Nduh? And it's clear Kenyans understand the malfeasance of this. In March 2014, a very interesting amendment was brought to Parliament. This is where the constitutional sin started. There was an amendment to Article 206 of the Constitution that was brought in PFM, Public Finance Statute Law, an inferior law, to amend the Constitution. And it said this, 206 says this, that all revenues enter the consolidated fund. All right?
Yes.
Now, and it gives two exceptions. One, appropriations in it, and two, a fund created by Parliament. The Housing Levy Fund, Petroleum Development Fund, created by Parliament. Now they brought something called Infrastructure Fund. There are about 18 of them.
Right.
A and B, that's the Constitution. In the PFM Statute 2010, they copy-pasted that into Public Finance Management Act. All right? But in March 2014, my good friend Olon Duale, as majority leader, brings an amendment in Public Finance Management Act to add to that clause C and D.
Saying what?
Saying that loans, government to government loans I don't know from where, payments of fees, and I can tell you they covered anything that they could cover to say that money goes out of the country, can be received outside the country, can go into accounts all over the world for the payment of all sorts of things or receiving loans anywhere. Right? The current finance CS, John Buddy, he was then minority leader.
Yes.
Seconded that motion and it passed. So they amended the Constitution through statute law, through an inferior act, without going through the Constitution provisions of how to amend the Constitution. That's where the constitutional sin happened.
Because what we're saying here is that for an amendment of the Constitution, you must go via referendum.
You must go 2/3 of Parliament.
Yeah.
Right? And that would have been a referendum issue. It qualifies for a referendum issue. Because we have to accept that now money is not accountable. Right? Because what happened, what we said in the Constitution, was that when money is voted by Parliament, it goes to one account called the Consolidated Fund.
Yes.
From that account, there are two other constitutional offices that oversight it. One is the control of budget. Every time there's a requisition to remove money from that account, she verifies that it is a vote from Parliament. And she approves the exchequer issue. All right? Second is the Auditor General oversights the accounts. That account.
After spend.
After spend. Now, the minute you're saying it goes to another account and it has no oversight, who is controlling it? Those two constitutional offices have only sight of what is in the law, what is the consolidated fund.
It sounds like it would only be an issue if money actually did go to an external account that is not approved by these two constitutional offices. Have we ever seen that happen?
Yes, the first Eurobond. The first Eurobond that was taken soon after this amendment.
It's your assertion that that money never hit the shores of Kenya?
What they showed us in terms of documentation, 1 trillion $1 billion. It was $2 billion. $1 billion was accounted for, right? Wrongly, because 600 of that went to pay a syndicated loan of the previous regime. 300, we saw it enter the 350 entered the consolidated fund. These are dollars. Now, $1 billion we never saw. They tried to explain it later, saying it entered some sovereign fund account in the treasury, in the central bank. But we did not see it. And I'll tell you how we didn't see it. Because there was a lot of noise about it at the time. In fact, my friend Raila Odinga had raised big issues on it. The treasury, under Rotich, volunteered information that they put on their website to show that this was a transaction. And they shared with us the SWIFT transfers of the 650 that went for the syndicated loan, dollars, $350 million that came to central bank. Those were shared. When we asked for the other balance $1 billion, they actually shared with us a redacted SWIFT they had cancelled. Now, what they showed on those SWIFTs is that money, you see, you've got to understand it. The transaction advisor was JP Morgan Chase. So they go out into the market and they ask for money from people to invest in this bond in Kenya.
Yeah.
The prospectus was very clear. It said various development projects in Kenya, and it was signed by Rotich. That was the prospectus document. Okay? So JP Morgan goes out in the market, it's not their money, and they ask investors to invest in these bonds. It has a high interest rate of 6%. Okay? You know, overseas that is a high interest rate. So people invest in the bonds. So money went into an account at JP Morgan Chase. Right? Now, government at the time was trying to act like that's an account that JP Morgan Chase was receiving revenue to then send. Now, you and I know the law does not allow that.
No.
So we followed up. And we found documentation that shows the accountant general, that is the person who signs all the exchequer issues and opens accounts for the government, is the one who signs the consolidated fund. Him and his deputy. So he's a man called Banandongo, who is still there up until today. And his deputy opened an account at JP Morgan Chase.
For what
Sovereign
purpose?
Wealth Fund Kenya. To receive this money. And the two of them were the signatories to that account. There's a letter by Rotich that appoints them to be the signatories of that account. So understand, Parliament passes this amendment, they go there, open this account that has no oversight of control of budget, no oversight of the Auditor General. They open it and they are the ones who dispense with the money.
And where does it go?
We saw the 650 and the 350. We don't know where the $1 billion went to.
Right. Today,
that is for another conversation.
No, of course.
Yeah.
But looking at all of this money today, Kenya is being asked to pay for that, and all of
That
this
was just
comes
one.
together. Well, that's that plus others, and like you said, you know, time is not.
Imagine they did $18 billion worth of things like that. $18 billion. These are mind-boggling figures.
They are.
All right. Now, that is money we don't see anywhere. You don't see at all.
But you're being asked to pay for it.
We are paying for it
today,
and we cannot afford it. Why does this debt not go down? We paid 2.6 in the last financial year. We are paying 2.8 this year. In the year after elections, we're going to be paying 3.2 trillion.
But let's look at the Finance Act, which, you know, it was a bill. A couple of weeks ago, the president then signed that into law. And what that does with the current budget now that you're looking at, you know, 4.4 trillion shilling budget, 4.8 trillion, that 1.1 trillion of that money is still going to be debt. You don't know where it's going to come from, that you don't have it available. What is being lodged on KRA is 2.8 that they must collect. And, you know, mop up money here and there. But 1.1 trillion shillings is what is not available, which what we are told by the CS is it will be borrowed. So latch that on to the debt that you talk about already. But what we are saying...
And it's being borrowed for what? Is it being borrowed for development?
Oh, no, it's to meet the budget. This is what
for what expenditure? You see, they are creating illegalities every single year. And is it that we've become immune to this? Well, that 1.1 you're talking about, they say they are collecting in the domestic market. We did not find it on the revised estimate, on the revenue estimates. And even as they argue, they say, oh, if you look at the balance, remove domestic and foreign, you'll see that it's there. I say, okay, then show us on the expenditure side.
Because it should show.
Much should show.
Okay.
You don't see it on the expenditure side. Because the expenditure side, it can only show in the development expenditure side. It does not show. And all loans we take on the expenditure side development are shown. You find all the foreign loans are there. We're getting from Canada, we're getting from India, we're getting from the World Bank. They're there towards development. But you do not see domestic debt funding anything on development.
Which is the bulk of the debt.
Yes.
Because
so
you're
you
saying
ask yourself, what is this? Are we become immune to this impunity? Does Parliament just pass impunity?
Well, let's link this to the first thing that you said, which is that, you had declared all intentions to run for the presidency. And this is one of the things that you are riding very heavily on. Link the two. What would be the difference with all of this that we are seeing, where there's 91% of
our revenue, tax revenue,
going to debt repayment? What would be the difference with the Jimi Wanjigi presidency if we see this problem today? Why would it be Jimmy to solve the problem? Because we can lament Jimmy, but at some point we drop the sackcloth, right?
So what happens is this. Kenyans need to understand that this state is a bankrupt state. We are bankrupt. All right? And this burden doesn't go away. I can give you the figures to 2040. Right? And somewhere along the way, it's going to crash. It's going to crash, and it's going to be such a threat to our lives. You can look at any country that has defaulted, the damage that comes to people's lives. You saw a lot of Ghanaians, for example, in South Africa. And they never used to be Ghanaians there. Now being chased away because of xenophobia. The problem, they went there because of the collapse when they defaulted. People had no opportunities. They fled. There were never such a big population in South Africa. So here, we are in a bankrupt state, and we must accept that reality. We must. And recognize that as long as we are paying this, there's no change to our lives. We're fooling ourselves. We're sweeping the dirt under the rug. Now, my opinion and my assertion and our party is very clear. What we term as odious debt shall not be paid by a Kenyan anymore. What cannot be accounted for the sovereign that did not pass our laws shall not be paid. So we shall immediately not pay this debt. We shall suspend it, give ourselves breathing time so that Kenyans can have an audit of this debt officially by a government and come back and show them what has been happening.
Show who?
Show Kenyans.
How does that play out for Kenya on the global scale?
How
does that play out on the private scale here? Because
how it works is this. Just like your bank, when they are loaning you money or you're opening an account, they do a KYC. Know your client. Anybody who has loaned Kenya money should know our laws.
Right.
This is our Bible. All right? If it did not go according to this, it is not sovereign to 60 million Kenyans. So if you did not do your due diligence, it is solely up to you. Solely up to you. And I don't think there's any country or any creditor that is going to say a new government that takes power that is choosing to not take over a burden until they audit it is doing something unfair. Is doing something untoward. It would not even take maybe a maximum of 3 months, maybe 6 months, okay, for us to audit this debt. You must remember, we've been talking about audit for the last 3 to 4 years, and we never see it. Even the current minister said he's going to show us an audit. In the MOU with ODM, it is there. We'll never see it. We never see it. Yet it's a provision of the Auditor General. And she has come out publicly to say the difficulty she's having with it. Now, we never see this audit. We shall audit this debt. So we'll suspend. And when we suspend, look at it this way.
What would happen, if I can?
Yes.
What would happen in the case of this suspense, whereby debt payment is not being made because you're checking the numbers? So what happens with that, and how then does life change for anybody?
Well, it means immediately for Kenyans, that money which was going out becomes available for their lives. All right? So if 3.2 was going out in the year 2027, 2028, if that is the amount of debt going out, it's now available. If it's 2.8, it's now available. Right? Doesn't that mean we can fund our entire budget without borrowing? But look at what we're adding. We are saying that we have what is called a FIST agenda. The FIST agenda has 5 items. That's why we call it FIST. We shall not pay odious debt, which means we have enough money available for education, from primary school to high school to Tibet. We've costed that at about 300 billion shillings. It's available from the taxes that you pay. Right? We are saving 2.8 to 3.2 trillion.
Right.
It's available. We've costed, in fact, the government has costed universal health care. I saw you extensively talking about it the other day.
Yeah.
It's 180 billion. Okay? That means we have availability of 180 billion. No Kenyan shall pay from their pocket. SHA. Your ID will guarantee you free medical care. All I know we need to do is probably reinstitute a new ID so that they are digitally accessible. 3, and this is very important. One of the biggest burdens to the cost of our lives has been VAT. Has been VAT because it cuts across all goods. We intend to remove VAT, scrap it, and introduce a 5% sales tax. 5% sales tax, no more VAT. Which means that Kenyans have a saving of about 11%.
Okay.
Right? On the cost of goods. But the most, also another carrot, is that now we are not going to borrow from the domestic market. And we are going to sit down with them about their debt. We're going to talk to them. We're going to ask them whether they followed our laws. And we have a plan for them. We have a plan for them. Right? That is going to benefit 60 million Kenyans. Not the few that have been extracting from us.
So the idea is that
that means
domestic
that you don't
banks
borrow.
should be lending to
development. That is the law. So if they are lending for something else, that's not the law. That is not the law. That means we are not tied to paying it. And I think you need to understand, domestic banks, it's our money that we have given them to as deposits. They then loan us back as a taxpayer, and then take interest from us, from our taxes, to pay them and make huge profits. Look at the 10 biggest companies in Kenya, profit-wise. 8 are banks. Only 2, Safaricom and East African Breweries, are separate to that. 8 are banks. From what? How are banks making money and everybody here is struggling without money? So there is an issue here. There's a big issue. So we are saying that now that government is not going to be borrowing from them, all right, people can access capital at very low interest rates. And that is the goal. Because we need to shift, we need to shift the economy.
It sounds like it might be a little bit more tricky. It sounds like you just would want to just come and switch off the lights, Jimmy, and say that, consolidated fund, the first charge of the consolidated fund will no longer be the first charge on the consolidated fund, and that we can just change things like that. It sounds like it would be a little bit of a tricky thing to do.
You see, the first charge on the consolidated fund, by the way, there are 3 items. Debt on one line. It's not that it's one below the other. There's debt, county, pension. All on one line. So that is the first charge. How many people say pension does not come? How many people say counties do not receive their revenue? Okay, on time. So government already has breached that law.
Okay.
So when you come to debt, you are saying we must be allowed time to audit this debt.
Okay.
Okay? Before we accept its liability.
So you're not saying that we're not going to pay the debts. What you're saying is that we want to ensure that, kind of like what everybody's doing with committees in the last few years, let's ensure that this money is actually owed for the purpose for which it was borrowed in the first place.
You see?
So are you saying let's not pay at all?
No, I'm saying we will not pay what is odious to us. What is not legal to us, we will not pay.
But the 13 trillion shillings that you speak about is not all odious.
No.
Okay.
Show us where it is here. And take note. Take note. We have paid how much money towards debt? That's the debt side. But look at how much we have been paying. Up until Uhuru left, we had paid 5.6 trillion. Right? Up until now, we have paid a similar amount.
So 10 trillion has been paid, but you still
More
owe
than 10
13.
trillion, and yet we still owe 13.
So this is where the bells are ringing in your
Yes.
head, and you're saying that there's a problem here.
Huge.
Okay. Now, let's put some of these things to bed, Jimmy, because you know what the chatter is about. You must have heard it. You don't live in isolation. That this gospel, according to Jimmy, of how odious debt must be gotten rid of sprouts from a personal issue that you have as a business person who was not allowed in on certain projects, and so that's why you have a little bit of a vendetta. Let's deal with that issue and just say what the issue is here. That does it come from a place whereby you're very concerned about what is happening with Kenyans and saying, you know what, this cannot be the case, or you know what, I'm going to point out these things because I was left out of a particular business deal?
Okay. I think that is very misguided. There was a lot of propaganda, especially in the previous government, that Jimmy is annoyed, Jimmy is supporting Raila Odinga, Jimmy is raising all these things because he didn't get the business deals, he didn't get this, he didn't get that. This is total rubbish. Total rubbish. I helped that government come to power. I helped that government come to power. I had no MOU about business deals with that government. No. We were doing something phenomenal at the time. We had just come from clashes in 2007, where brother killed brother in this country. We had never seen it before. Right? Neighbor was killing a neighbor. We had never seen it before. 1,400 people had died just out of an election process. We were healing the nation and ensuring that it does not happen again. Because there were two communities that were in the forefront of that fight and had been for some time, government's part. But that time, it was like it was an organic hatred. And we knew that if those two communities stop fighting, this country will stop fighting. It will not be brother against brother again. So we were healing the nation. And I think we did a good job. I don't think we've seen that sort of thing since 2007.
Right.
The community is fighting community. Brother is fighting brother. What you're now seeing are goons and all this is organized payments from a government. But this other thing was so tumultuous. You know, we like to forget, but it was horrific. We watched it. Innocent people, preachers, mothers, children, killed, maimed, burnt. It was horrible, displaced from their homes. People are fleeing even to Uganda. I mean, we've never seen that in Kenya. We like to forget, but it was an amazing moment now in our history. Now, we were healing that. So if some of us were keen on putting the two that were seen as the forefronts of it, right, who are being charged in the ICC, to heal this process with communities, I really think people should look at it that way. It had nothing to do with deals. It was something phenomenal that was done. And I think, and I'm glad it was achieved. Now, their governance is something else. And that's where now many of us fell apart with them. Kibaki created an economy for all. He brought the private sector, right, into the mainstream of economic growth. He just catalyzed. The model here, with Uhuru and with William today, was extraction. Government is everything. We had 3 to 5%, 8% interest rates under Kibaki. How did they just shoot up to 20? We had access to capital. Everybody was growing somewhere. Cost of living, people are not complaining about. There was infrastructure growth that was phenomenal. You know, we like to forget, we got our internet under Kibaki. Fiber optic cable. Look at what he created. The media, when did it become free? How many radio stations opened up? TV stations opened up. He opened it. That's how he took revenue from 200 billion to 1 trillion. But now we became an extraction economy. Government is everything. And money was sapped from our taxes. Money was sapped from our banks. And that model was the model we saw under Moi. Right? It reduces us. And it was the model I disagreed with. Only to find, when I was running for presidency in 2021, 2022, I said, you know, anybody who is going to be CEO of this country, just like if you're taking over a company, you must know the accounts. So, we audited. Did a massive forensic audit. It had nothing to do with anything. We had a feeling, because we were looking at this tax burden on taxes, the debt burden on taxes, that there's something going on here. Let me tell you, Nduh, there's one project that everybody says I was upset with. It's called SGR.
Yes, the SGR, that has come up quite some, you know.
Yes, I was a founder of that project. We began pushing that project in 2008 with the same company, China Road and Bridge. And you know, the conclusion of it was that we were going to do it private. So for about 55 billion shillings, we were going to do the rail from Mombasa to Malaba, private. In fact, we had a return on investment of it of 7 to 8 years. All right? We're just straightening the line by turning to SGR standard. We're not going to the civil works of up. And, right, we had a PPP model with Kenya Railways. Because we were taking their land, they were going to have a share of the company.
Okay.
Right? Now, it changed and morphed into a project of 380 billion for the first phase, Mombasa, Nairobi. From 55 to Malaba. 380 billion from
to
Mombasa to Nairobi. And then another 180, right, to Naivasha. Now, let's just say it's 120. So 500 to Mombasa. To Naivasha. So 500 billion, okay, for that short stretch. Have you ever seen the end of that line? You should see it. In this so-called Duka Moja,
right,
you will get the shock of your life.
It just stops.
It stops. In fact, now there are people who are farming all over. It's actually shocking to see. Okay? So a railway to nowhere.
So this did not upset you? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I didn't.
Because imagine,
it didn't make sense.
Jimmy, 55 billion shillings to now 500 billion, 10 times the amount, and then that is essentially taken from you. That bore no.
Look at it this way.
Frustration.
It was the model.
Part.
It was the model. I was upset with the model.
Okay.
Right? The model here was from private to public. My model had no debt, had no tax revenue being used. None. It was private investment. Okay? And we were even giving the public, through Kenya Railways, a share because of land. Land is owned by the public. All right? So we're giving them a share. We were running it private. We were building private. No tax.
Okay.
No burden to Kenyans. right, and providing a service. At that time, railways was only 3% of the transport on that route. Can you imagine? There was a company called, what was it called? Rift Valley Rail. That had taken 23% of transport to 3. Had failed. Right? It had gone down. So we were now trying to revive this line, okay, with private investment. The government at the time chooses to burden Kenyans with debt and tax revenue. That was where we disagreed.
Okay.
So I don't know, it is the model. Because you must understand, when you take debt, it is future tax revenue from us. It's future payment. Right? This could have gone to other things. Now, when we audited that railway, okay, interesting thing we found with the accounts. The Chinese government, through Exim Bank of China, said they would fund 90%,
okay,
which is 450 billion shillings. Right? So Kenyans were to pay 10 from our taxes, 10%, which was 50 billion. We did an audit. We got 450 from China. That we got. In fact, we have an outstanding of about $300 billion, 300 billion shillings. Then we audited the 50 billion. Did we pay it? It was called Self-Raising Finance Fund from the Treasury, grant from Treasury to Kenya Railways to honor transmission to China Road and Bridge. Do 50 billion. It was not 50 billion.
What was it?
It was not even 100 billion. It was 644 billion.
To pay
so Kenyans to Kenya Railways as the 10%, who onward paid to China Road and Bridge, who was a contractor. Now, we paid for that railway from our pocket and more, yet we are still burdened with a debt. That is the malfeasance of that. More money was extracted from us than was even required on the contract.
In the name of paying 10% towards this loan for this railway.
Yes. That's why I keep saying Treasury is a mafia operation there. It really is. Because how does one hand not know what the other is doing? You know, what is going on there? How was 10% 644 billion? How did it amount to that?
Okay. So even as you say this, it makes sense, Jimmy.
Why would I be upset? Tell me why I would be upset.
Why? Okay, from a personal point of view, it makes sense. You wouldn't be upset beyond why would you choose a different model? That makes sense. And this that you talk about not paying ODS debt, it's sprinkled with corruption. At least that would be the oversight that we see from
the model changed.
Would corruption also be something that you would be looking into? And we can answer that. I mean, we're going to come back and continue this. We can answer that and look at then what would be the modus operandi for then making sure that governance actually takes a proper role in terms of leadership as well. But if this makes sense, and as clear as the eye can see, why is nobody else who wants to be president talking about this? In the last election, it was very clear that it was going to be an economic election. Money in the pockets of Kenyans was priority number one. Why would nobody pick up on this as well? Why does it, when we hear about ODS debt, we are able to, assign it to you? Why is nobody else talking about this?
You know, it's most interesting. We saw Kalonzo Musyoka with his people's budget. And you can see clearly a total lack of understanding. He's just doing the same thing William Ruto is doing. Right? The same thing. And you're expecting a different result. It's like they don't understand it. They don't, many people, by the way, do not understand government money. Even people in government. They do not understand it. People who've been elected. You've seen, even the finance bill in 2024, even this one. How many people could articulate provisions of the finance bill? Right? They do not understand. Our parliamentarians who are supposed to oversight, government itself and people who've been in government a long time do not understand the money aspect. They think it is just there and it's available and we just keep doing. They've not understood the model. This model is very simply an extraction model. And it was started in pre-colonial time, in colonial time. right? I've told you before on your show that we were colonized by a private company. Imperial British East Africa is who colonized us in 1920. Their watchmen became the policemen of Kenya, right? To deal with outsiders, right? This was a company that came to extract from Kenya. That model did not change at independence. Government is seen as an extraction. Today, many people think you go to government to make money, right? You don't make money in the private sector. So many people do not understand government money. So when we are talking about this, you find, ask my fellow competitors, what do they understand about the numbers in Kenya? Ask them about where is the budget, 220. Ask them about revised revenue estimates and expenditure estimates, what it means to them. You find they don't know. So people just keep doing the same thing, and you expect a different result. So they do not, in my view, when I saw the people's budget, I said, really, people do not understand. And they are not taking time to interrogate this very deep problem. Why are taxes rising? The finance bill you are just talking about is extracting another 120 billion shillings in tax from us, right? Increasing this burden. And everywhere you go, people are talking about tax. And government comes back and is loading it on us. And Parliament is reduced debate on lines. They should have just rejected it on just one fact. You're coming to extract from us. At the end of the day, directly or indirectly, we are affected. Show us how it's not a burden, how it is going to increase employment and productivity. You and I know it doesn't.
Because they don't understand it.
That's my view. Okay. Because I can't see it. And that tells you that models have reached their end. People here have been in traditional models of politics, right? Tribe, regions, kingpins, right? Agitation, maybe on democracy. But you see, we have gone through those phases. This good book guarantees us our political and economic rights. And we have passed the phase of democratic rights. It's now the economic rights. We protect the democratic rights we've got, but we are now on economic rights. And there are people who don't want to see us getting our economic rights.
Okay. Well, being president often takes a lot more than a thought that you might have. So we're going to take a break, come back and discuss then issues around what it actually means and an interesting visit that you made a couple of days ago. It's the Situation Room with Jimi Wanjigi. We will be back after this short break.
This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembur. The High Court has suspended the National Transport and Safety Authority's mandatory annual inspection for privately owned non-commercial vehicles pending the hearing of a petition challenging the directive. Justice Francis Kiambia issued conservatory orders halting the enforcement of the traffic motor vehicle inspection rules as they apply to non-commercial vehicles. The order will remain in force until 22nd June 2027 when the case will be heard. The court also suspended penalties including the impounding of vehicles without valid inspection certificates. The petitioner has 7 days to serve the respondents, while the NTSA and the road CS have 14 days to file their responses. The directive has sparked widespread opposition, with 4 separate petitions filed challenging the new road safety measures. Treasury CS John Mbadi has defended President William Ruto's administration, saying Mount Kenya residents are no longer complaining about government performance, but are instead angered by the removal of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station, Mbadi said government spending priorities under the Finance Bill 2026 are focused on key livelihood sectors, particularly agriculture. He cited allocations including 19.1 billion shillings for fertilizer fertilizer subsidies, 2.7 billion shillings for sugar reforms, and funding for tea and coffee development, saying the measures have eased previous concerns in the region. He added that the coffee sector is gradually recovering, though it has not yet returned to peak performance. Barasa, the current administration has revived key agricultural industries compared to the previous government.
Before President Uhuru left office, what problem did he have with the people from Mlima? The problem he had with the people from Mlima is that he neglected tea, he neglected coffee, he neglected milk, and of course they were talking about stalled roads. Today, the people from Mlima, I don't hear them talking about tea, they are not complaining about coffee, they are not complaining about milk, they are complaining about being betrayed. So how they are betrayed is Wamunyoro has been removed from office. If you have heard them complain about tea, tell me. If you have heard them complain about coffee, tell me.
A section of members of the National Youth Council have accused pro-government political leaders of interfering in the council election schedule for 5th July. Speaking in Kisumu, the youths claim that some leaders are allegedly plotting to influence the outcome to ensure their allies secure various positions against the wishes of council members.
It has come to our attention that there was a meeting that was called Friday last week,
yes,
where some few people who were purporting to be aspirant for the NYC were called.
Yes.
They had a meeting with some people from the one of the government agencies, and today we've received a call that already they have already planned for what is going to happen for the NYC. I want to tell our people, our youths, and all those politicians from all political dimensions, that this thing is for the youth. It is not a thing for any politician, not for the government. It's a thing for the youth. So we want to tell our politicians, stay out of this thing. Let the youth rally out their voice. Let them stand up for themselves, because we are not leaders of tomorrow. We are the leaders of today.
They also complained that despite the election set for Sunday, they have not been provided with a list of candidates contesting the various positions.
Stating that the National Youth Council elections will be held on 5th, that is on Sunday. Up to now, we have not received a list of aspirants who are going to contest in the National Youth Council. We have not also received a list of the voters who are going to vote in that National Youth Council elections. What we are asking the PS, the CS, and even the President, if you are wholeheartedly, you want to involve youths in their affairs, this National Youth Council elections is the first thing that you should be concentrating on. We want clarity. We want things to be put clear on who are contesting for these seats from the ward to the constituency level, to the national level, and which people are going to vote. We don't want situations where goons are going to be brought in, people who are overage, who are not youths, who are going to be brought in, or we don't want a briefcase NYC, as it has been since 2013 when the last elections were held. We want...
And that's the news. I'm Sheila Timbur.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
I am also a publicly elected official. Okay. My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante
We will always be here.
The government itself is engaging in corrupt practices. That the government itself deliberately schemes to influence through bribery members of parliament.
You pay for a passport online. Alafu you're told there are no booklets.
I rebuke matters corruption, because corruption has brought this country to its knees.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje, kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Welcome back to the Situation Room. We continue our conversation this morning with presidential aspirant Jimi Wanjigi, as well as the head of the Safina party, the assertions on the economy and why it must take center stage moving forward for Kenyans. And so we continue with that. Jimi, already established that the reasons why you want to be president is that this country must go in a different direction for the people of Kenya. We've just talked about the economy a little bit and been able to understand a lot of the things that were done before, according to your assertions, that have put Kenya in the hole in which it is debt-wise. But there are other things that are happening in the nation at the moment for which there's an outcry. Your deputy party leader has been in a case that has been trying to deal with those who essentially killed Baby Pendo. And you've come out after that to talk about human rights abuses, those who have been the victims of enforced disappearances and extrajudicial killings continues to happen. We are currently in a time when people still continue to disappear. People are shot. People are killed in vehicles, cars, in cells. It's one of the things that must be dealt with in country. How would you deal with things like that? Before we even come to corruption, how would we deal with things like that? That seems to be the outcry of many Kenyans today.
You know, I'm glad you raised that. You see, these are reactions to something, right? When you are unable to govern for the people, you cause attrition on them. The current abductions, look at the timing. It's coming at the anniversary of the Finance Bill of 2024. What we saw in 2024 was a turning point for Kenyans. They said they are not going to accept further burden to their financial lives. And a government was not listening. A parliament was not listening. And you had an uprising here that we have never ever seen. Those are signs that this situation has changed. It's the economy that is dictating the political direction of the country. What happened effectively in 2024 was a no confidence motion on William Samoei Ruto and his government. And you can just imagine how frightened he was. He was seeing everything go in a very short time. I have never, and we saw even the rise of multipartyism in this country, seen anything like I saw in 2024. A popular uprising that came from the hearts of many Kenyans in 37 counties. Anybody trying to minimize it to tribal is rubbish. It was tribeless, it was classless, it was leaderless, it was organic, like a spirit. That is a living nightmare for William Ruto. It was mobilized on social media. So he attacks anything social media. to deal with people who started abducting them. He hasn't stopped. This is a very frightening period. He's tried to brand it even tribal. It's not.
But he's not saying these words. It's people who are around him who might be
Yes,
saying
but
them.
we all know where they
attribute
get
that
the
to
script
him?
from. Oh yeah, we all know where they get the script from. He's the dictator. He's the script master. Okay? This is always a frightening period. I hear they are frightened for next year. So they are trying to make sure that attention of the country is on AFCON. Okay? So that people, because it's coming at the end, next the elections. So this government is just reacting to the pain, our expression of the pain we are facing. Now, there's a reality that must come to bear. Today, we are talking about 58% of Kenyans, almost 60%, 6 of every 10 Kenyans that are living below the poverty level. 38% of those are multidimensional poor, right? The balance are food poor. Multidimensional, because those are the ones who don't have a job.
Yeah.
They can't afford education, can't afford the health. Our proposal is going to deal with that 38% immediately, because we will make sure they can go to school. We'll make sure that it's not a burden. Health is not a burden. Right? And out of it, there will be opportunities created for jobs. If we don't pay this debt, and we will not pay it. If it's illegal, we will not pay it.
How are you going to deal with the folks who then were involved in the illegality? Because that's one thing. Yeah, many have argued that a lot of the people who may have contributed to the problem still seem to be the ones who are being
they reinvent
the
themselves.
Toolbox.
They keep reinventing themselves.
How will you deal with that? Because you can't expect those who may have allegedly been in the problem making to be part of the problem solving.
I agree with you. You see, that's why I'm an outsider coming in with insider knowledge. Right? Very much like the Trump model. Right? We're coming in to drain the swamp of this malfeasance. Right? To give Kenya a new birth. A new birth. Where really this model that was entrenched from 1920, where 60% continually remain poor, changes. Because you know what they say when people are looking for food in their stomachs and their own personal needs, they don't look at what the leaders are doing, what the people up top are doing. Now we want to change this model. And you can't change it with the same people, with the same attitudes, with the same template that has been there the last 63 years. It must change.
How though, Jimmy? And I think that folks have been, we mollycoddle this thing a little bit. If somebody has been involved in an act of corruption, it is criminal. What do you do with individuals who have been involved in those acts and have put Kenya in a position where it continues to spiral out of control? What do you do? It seems like a no-brainer. If somebody, again, the same analogy that is used, if somebody would steal a chicken, they would be languishing in remand today. Right? What do you do with individuals who
I operate on a different premise here.
How so?
If we can deal with this debt, the illegality of it, buyer beware. Those people who gave us illegal money, they will look for those that they gave the money. Let's deal with the positive. Because our laws are so good, you don't even need to add another sentence. Ask yourself why they are not actualized. Why are they not actualized? It's us as Kenyans. You know, we are the face of government. Right? What you see there is who we are, and vice versa. And vice versa. I know many people today in the private sector who say within their own companies, corruption is practiced.
They know.
A purchasing manager is doing something with somebody who's supplying to get extra money, right, above his salary. We are the same face, the private sector, as government.
So how do you deal with it?
Why? So how you deal with it? Why are they doing that? Ask yourself, if they could meet their needs, would they do that? Would they become more ethical? So if needs are being met, there'll be an overall demand, unilateral demand for ethical leadership, ethical practices. which means that we start redefining who is the Kenyan. What is acceptable, what is not. What are our norms? What are we about? And we really need to come there, because I think we are not quite defined. We are not. We are a construct that was made by others. We need to define what is Kenyan and what is not. And when we reach a stage where you're saying stealing is not being Kenyan,
then we stop it.
Then we stop it.
Where is a precedent setter that needs to be something that you put in place to ensure that it's teaching a lesson to someone else? Iwe funzo, as you say in Kiswahili.
Look at what you... How did America get to the extent, for example, where today, even if you have billions of dollars, you can face a prison term. You saw even a president there being taken to court, a former president, Donald Trump, came out of it, but you saw it. That the level of accountability is so high. You've seen in the UK, prime ministers quit because they're having parties during a time of COVID. It's like, that's not an acceptable norm. We must reach that stage.
Okay.
Right?
But it sounds like somebody, I feel like I'm trying to pull the words out of your mouth here. It sounds like somebody needs to be the one who does that. And I mean, you could give examples. Nicolas Sarkozy sat 6 months in jail. South Korea's president and his wife sitting in jail. The Singapore that everybody talks about till tomorrow, the first thing they did was they took errant government officials and sent them to trial.
I like that example.
And they sit in jail.
I like that example of Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew was very clear. He said, I want to guarantee the Singaporean. I am going to strive for economic rights. Your political ones, you'll fight for later. Yes. You will fight for later. He was called by the West a dictator.
Right.
Right? Because really your political rights were not guaranteed there. He created a strict discipline to define the Singaporean behavior and habit, because he could with dictatorship. They did not have political rights. But he guaranteed them the economic, and he achieved it. Today, Singapore is respected because people have money in their pockets. It's the highest per capita nation in the world, right? So you imagine that we have a president here who is delulu, imagining that we are going to get to Singapore in his lifetime. It's a joke, okay? Right? Yeah. The per capita there is 94. What are we? Are we even 2,000 and something? Look how far we have to go. Let's even compete with other African countries before we go there. Now, he was clear. In Kenya, we have political rights.
Yes.
All right? You're not going to take that away. You can see William trying to usurp the constitution, continuously taking away political rights that are guaranteed in our constitution. That's why he fails. He looks horrible, he abducts, they are hiding behind those things. Before you could be picked up and sent to detention. Can you imagine how many of us would be in detention if those laws were still there? We'd all be in detention, many of us. Right? You could keep somebody in custody endlessly. So here there's no space for that dictatorship. But he's denying us our economic rights. And we must get to economic rights. So let us get our economic rights. We are going to protect our political ones. And we will change it when people now are not looking for food. Yes.
If you take care of the basic needs, then these other things then can be achieved.
Then it becomes a national discussion, a discourse.
And in the race to that, Jimmy, do you feel that you need to come together with like minds? The question has been about the united opposition for the longest time as to whether we will have everybody coming together to try and see if they can unseat William Ruto in 2027, or whether people are going to run alone. Remember, we made reference to the fact that you have an agenda that is different from everybody else. That's very clear. And yet, the other day, you visited former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Was that just a cup of tea, or was that something else?
You know, Nduh, I've been very clear that coming together must be about the agenda of the people. All right? The agenda of the people. Not about the removal of just one man. William Ruto will go, and he's going. But are we solving the problem? He was dead certain and sold us and sold Kenyans that he is going to change the economy for the hustler. He has not. He has created more hustlers, more poor people, right, than he found. He has a GDP that has gone down since Uhuru gave him power. So this man is false. We can't replace him with the same script.
Okay.
Right? It must be an agenda of the people. And one thing people don't understand is that change in this country has always been about the people first, not just about the leadership. If you look at the transition of Moi, it was about 2A. That's where multipartyism started. Remove 2A, then we can deal with Moi. And what was it doing? It was giving people the power to decide where their vote goes. Before that, it was one party that decided at KICC who your MP was, who your president was. Now it's empowering people. Okay? When even we were dealing with Uhuru and Ruto, it was the script of ICC. We are dealing with clashes. Hope that our people will be peaceful. The country will be peaceful. Right? No more of this bloodshed. Hope. William Ruto, his script was now I'm getting rid of the haves called the dynasty, and I'm bringing the have-nots to start sharing in the cake. Today, saying one term, Ruto must go, fine, that's the negative. What is the hope? What are we telling Kenyans? This is what I'm saying, then what? Then what? So my view was always that we must come together on the then what.
Right.
Okay? So my meeting yesterday was yesterday.
Yes.
We both decided we need to consult.
Okay.
Okay. And we had a very good discussion, I must say. A very hospitable couple. And we had a friendly, very productive discussion on the issues of the people of Kenya. Okay? And the trajectory between now and 2027. Okay? I was very happy after that meeting. And since we are still consulting, let me not say too much. because it was a deep meeting.
Okay, so be that cryptic as it may, there is the risk of confusing Kenyans in terms of which direction they need to be taking, because it seems to be a moving target. Which way are we going?
Why are Kenyans in a hurry?
Well, come on now. This is an election that we're talking about, and that people have to make a decision about something that's going to happen in the future.
Yes.
And that people want to be almost sure about this. Some of the things that might be thrown into it is that the president has said, you see, they don't even know what they're doing. Here we are, mega infrastructure, we're running Mount Summit. Here we are launching roads. We're putting in affordable housing. We're making things better for Kenya. What is this thing? And which, according to your own assertions just now, you've more or less admitted to, Jimmy, where you said, okay, that's great, we can say one time, but then what next after that? You know?
No.
So he said the same thing. So Kenyans also kind of want to know, okay, so everybody's saying we're united, but when we talk about coming together, everybody has a role that they want to play. But in this coming together, there are about 6 presidential aspirants in the same, thing. So who is it? And do you need to have the clarity, according to you, before time?
Oh yes. You see, first and foremost, Nduh, William Ruto does not have majority of Kenyans' credibility. He's told us too many lies. He can tell us about whatever it is he's doing. I don't think Kenyans buy into it anymore. In fact, they question. He's done this bridge, and people are saying the meters are more than what they are counting. So it tells you he has a deficit of credibility. I don't really care about William Ruto saying. Okay? It's the opposition. We need this time around to come up with a very credible then what for the people of Kenya. Because Kenyans now are a different electorate group. Yeah? we must come up, they've got to see their life. What is expected after the election, August 10th next year, of a new government? It must be very clear, not guesswork, not heavy, clarity. What is the then what? You know, in other democracies, you know, this government comes in, is going to reduce taxes. Right. This one comes in, is going to raise taxes. There's that, except, you know the outcomes. This one is going to allow immigration. This one will not. Those are the things we need to make sure Kenyans clearly understand. All right? August 10th, after August 10th, 2027. Now, that is my issue. What was being called the united opposition had no clarity.
You speak about that as though it's a past, it's historical.
You see, let's wait and see. Let's wait and see whether it remains as you have been seeing it. Because the general attitude there has been the target is one person. Right? And that's good for a while. Now you have to come and market yourselves beyond that 1% to Kenyans.
Right.
So this is where it starts taking a different face. And you're going to see it.
Do you expect support?
The opposition, there's no doubt. The challenge
do you expect support from these other individuals who might be putting themselves up for election as president?
You see, how it works is this way, Nduh. Is I'm about the agenda of the people. All right? So if you can come to this space of the economy, we can discuss. We come together. Right? If it's these other games, I'm not myself very keen. I want to be very realistic to Kenyans. I don't seek to be president to tell lies. To not actualize what I'm saying. Because Kenyans are going to be very, very, this time, Kenyans, they will not give anybody space that is just talking. They actually want to feel their life is changing. And immediately, they actually need a break.
One of the things that you've just said, which interestingly enough, your deputy party leader talks about all the time, is to get rid of legacy politicians, people who've been in the boat forever. You talk about draining the swamp, and there are people who've been there. I mean, it's almost expected that because their grandfather and then their father after that, and then their mother was, that you would just keep them in the pot. That may not necessarily be good for Kenyans. This is across board, not just at the presidency level, across board. Members of parliament, governors, senator, across board. That Kenya is at a point where it needs proper leadership at every level, from MCA to member of parliament, across board, whether the member of parliament is a senator, woman rep, or a constituency leader. Across board, good leadership is needed. But it seems as though you can't deal with the folks who were there before. What's your thought on legacy politicians?
Who says, people? Now, what happens is this. Everything in this country that we have seen so far is top-down. The attitude of the president and who he is simmers down to the MCA. Kenyans, my belief is most Kenyans are good. They become bad somewhere along the way out of practice, or it becomes a norm or something of the sort. If you have a head of state that is very firm about doing good, sticking to the law, sticking to what they are saying, honoring their word, and if they are unable, coming back and explaining it to Kenyans, those are, it would cascade downwards. So let us start there. And there, William Ruto has failed. So he must go. He must get out of the way. That's why we are called the opposition. One united aspect we have is that William Ruto should go. That one, I think we are clear. All of us. Now, the next part is, then what? What happens after that for the people of Kenya? What you're asking. These legacy politicians, many of them, have failed that test. Over time. And they must also see, these are different times. These are not the same times. So to achieve the task of removing William Ruto, you must agree what is the method. Because he is also a game player. He's also a game master. What are the methods? Because if you don't get that right, even that task you will not succeed. Number two, how do you galvanize the whole country, or most of the country, into a hope agenda for themselves so they buy into this?
Right.
So it's got to be two-pronged. We must remove William. What is the best method? Because to imagine that you can just put anybody and they'll remove them is a lie. It's a lie. He is also a political game player. He is. And we know numbers in this country and how numbers are played.
Right.
Okay? So you must be very clear that you must remove him and develop the formula.
Do you think you can stand it alone, Jimmy? If in the event that, you know, people in the united opposition or whatever, I mean, if there are cracks in that, whether it's going to actually hold together later on, do you think that you could stand it alone and say, Kenyans, this is the agenda that we need to push? After the one term, then what? If that is, you know, if Ruto must go, and then there has to be something beyond that. And if people do not resonate with the things that we've spoken about today, can you go it alone?
Look at it this way. Look at the last election. Change is already here. In the last election, both the current president and the late, my friend, Raila, got roughly 7 million votes each. The largest voter was the non-voter, 8 million.
Yeah.
Why did they not see their future in those two camps? You know, it's never happened in the history of Kenya. The largest voter, in other words, the non-voter, was always below anyone's count. That was the first time it was the largest. That tells you the gap. The gap. So legacy politics of 2022 was not working for 8 million Kenyans. They are still there. And they are increasing. Because a lot of the young people are there. If it is carrying on the same template of legacy politicians on the ballot, that's the gap we intend to capitalize on. Right? There is a need for another voice. That's why you're seeing other groups coming up that were not part of united opposition, that are gathering imagination. Okay? These numbers are more than enough to cause a minimum of a runoff. All right? And if if there's a question of a two-horse race, the Constitution covers that. It says a runoff is the first two candidates.
Right.
Okay? Why do we have to have two horses? You can have three. The two horses will come at runoff. And my assessment, William Ruto will not even be in that runoff if people do it well.
If people do it right.
Yes.
I want to go back to some of the things that plague institutions, and that's the very criminality that we kind of spoke about today. That members of parliament, for example, and it would be surprising that I would choose parliament or the National Assembly, that members of parliament are tasked with the responsibility to represent their people. Now, not represent the executive. Many have complained and talked about parliament under capture. If we want to look at counties and the cartels, yes, I use the word cartels, that operate in criminality when certain things are supposed to happen. There's no water in the taps, but you have water bowsers all over the place. There's criminality that's going on. And when you talk about putting money in the pockets of Kenyans, you still have these issues that you want to deal with. How would you deal with those?
First and foremost, I agree with you about parliamentary oversight. They're supposed to oversight. And this is a big question that has been raised in our courts. My late brother Raila Odinga raised it. Why are they dealing with CDF? Because then they have an implementation role with CDF. And in my view, that takes away their concentration on their oversight role in parliament. They are too busy actualizing CDF to get re-elected. It's 210 million per year. At the end of 5 years, they have dealt with 1 billion shillings. Each member of parliament. That thing is taking away their oversight role. Anything they raise about money, they're told then CDF cannot be paid, and they're in a hurry to make sure they don't look at our numbers, our budget, where development is going. They don't check the executive because there's this carrot. Right? Now, I believe one of the things we'll be able to do in a new government, right? As government, as Jimi Wanjigi as president, is ensure that there is more money for the counties. All right? Because now we'll have money. They're not paying debt. This odious debt. Now, if there is more money in the counties, there needs to be an accountability system, right? That comes from the top. You know, our constitution and the framers of it dovetailed a national government.
Yeah.
In other words, what happens at the top and in devolution must be synchronized. Must be synchronized. So the executive has an overall role even in the management of devolution, right? In how it's rolled out for the development of the people. We need to really come together. So there are parameters and targets. What is the national government doing in the counties? And what is the county doing to spur the same?
Yeah.
Right? So it dovetails together, comes together. And there needs to be an active role. Right now, you even remember that there's 2 meetings the president is supposed to chair, right? With the counties. You never see him. It was a task given to the deputy. And you never hear what they've quite agreed. Governors are left to run their own show. And really, it's not dovetailing with the national. So the president in this is so critical. I don't know what more to tell you. Because if the president was critical about the city of Nairobi, do you think you would have water cartels? Garbage cartels?
But they're governors.
Yes,
devolution under the Constitution has guaranteed that the county bosses will then be able to deal with this thing. Why would you want the national government, headed by the president, to then come in and deal with the counties?
How are cartels operating? How? That means the institutions from the executive are not working. Where is the ACC then? Where is the ACC? That's an arm of the executive. Why is it not dealing with cartels? Isn't it an arm of the executive? What is happening? That's the strong hand of the executive.
That is needed,
of which
that
the president,
Jimi Wanjigi will deliver?
There's no choice about it.
Okay.
There's no choice about it. That and transparency. There needs to be more transparency. Government is opaque. County governments are opaque. They become sources for people to make profit. That's the other thing. We intend to shove money to make sure money remains in the private sector. Government will deal with core functions. All right? So really, the private sector is where profiteering should be, not in public sector. Now, if you shift the balance, okay, money that is currently being taken by government from our banks, from our taxes, now remains with the public. Why would anybody be rent-seeking in government anymore? There'll be more money to be made in the private sector. You change the capital dimensions. You shift it, you turn it around. So really government just becomes a catalyst, a small catalyst to the growth by policies and by some things that the private sector cannot do.
Cannot do.
Yes.
So why?
So you are removing money. You see, to understand it simply.
Okay.
Government is taking from your pocket in taxation and heavily. You can't meet your needs. All right? And then when you go to the bank, it has taken money. So the interest rates are so high, you can't do anything that is going to create any gain to you. Now, if it is back in your pocket, right, and back in the banks, why would you go to government to rent seek?
You would need to.
Right now, since they have all the money, everyone goes there. All the cartels go there. Everything goes there. But if you create an economy that's big on the outside, look at housing, for example. Do you know we only have 28,000 mortgages in this country?
Yeah.
Since independence.
Very low penetration.
Very low penetration. Just double that. Take it to even 50,000. Imagine the value of real estate, the demand for housing here. That would be the biggest growth area. Forget this affordable housing that I never hear anybody saying they live in it. Somebody was telling me the other day, it's just slums that have been built upwards. Okay? Now, imagine that in the private sector. The growth in land, construction, everywhere, just doubling those mortgages. Why would anybody be rent-seeking in government? Coming with corruption and all these funny cartels.
Right.
The game changes. If people have got venture capital from banks, access to venture capital, they'll be the biggest catalyst to anything that's out there. Markets of Mama Mboga, they'll be building themselves. They don't need a county or a government. They'll be doing themselves. They'll just say, we want allocation of land.
And then
you and I will be, you will be doing, not me, you will be doing radio stations and power plants, because there'll be venture capital for it. Opportunities become galore, because private sector money, masterpiece shareholders, and the only way they make money is by giving loans. If they're not giving government, they'll be begging you to take. Right? Now, that will be the growth area. So you remove government as the extraction vehicle, right? So which rent seekers will be there? It becomes a place that you're literally going to do service. You dedicate yourself to changing people's lives.
So it would be Jimi Wanjigi the servant?
Absolutely. You see, we need to shift this. Yeah? A president is not a lord. He is a servant. The president is employed by Kenyans, yet he says shoot people. I mean, you know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's one thing I also must stress. You see, what the Mzungu created, this company, in somebody called the policeman. Their watchmen became policemen. That tool has been used for abduction, has been used to kill and maim people. Right? That is the domination arm of a failed government. It's no longer a service. You see a policeman today and you wonder whether he will shoot you or abduct you, not serve you.
True.
They are oppressors. Out there, I can tell you a lot of people in Eastlands today, they see a policeman and they know he's a rent seeker. He's not coming to serve you. He's coming to take you. And if you don't give him something, you'll be inside a cell.
Yeah.
Now, we are going to roll out a very clear provision that's allowable in our constitution and under the Police Act. There are 597 OCPDs, Officer Commanding Police Division, and the divisions are 597. That is equivalent to an American sheriff. Okay? Now those divisions, we want to bring a provision in the law that says every 5 years after elections, that OCPD shall be elected by the people of those divisions.
Okay.
And that will be either a career policeman or mwananchi who fits a certain criteria.
Okay. Elected to what?
To be an OCPD.
Okay.
Right? So an OCPD is accountable to the IG on one hand, at the same time, mwananchi. That OCPD, because he is elected, he can serve 2 terms. Because he's elected, he's not going to be somebody, right, who he oppresses the people who elected him. He's not going to get up and say shoot the people who elected him. So he has a different way of managing the police department. He becomes a servant, a true servant of the people. So you remove the domination arm. He's accountable to them. And remember, he can be a member of the public or a disciplined police officer. And there's a recall clause. So if certain numbers of people are unhappy in the division for him, then they can recall him and have him removed. Now, once you put that in, all right, you are removing the domination and increasing efficiency and accountability of dealing with crime. What you're talking about, cartels, is crime.
It is.
It doesn't even need to be dealt with by EACC. These are reportable offenses that CID can handle. It used to handle before. Once the people are making you more accountable to it, even at that level, you perform. Let's not imagine there are miracles here, that we are just going to get up and say, I'm going to do. The resistance here will be very heavy. society, everybody must get involved in this.
And it will take some time.
Not really. Not really. Not really.
But still, the panacea to all of this seems to be that if you fix the economy and that you guarantee under the Constitution a livelihood for Kenyans that must be protected then by government, that you solve all of these other problems. But then personnel is key to who you appoint. And we know that who you appoint to particular positions to do particular things. And that likelihood of things falling under the hands of somebody who is incompetent is then very high. Many have argued that the key sectors in Kenya today that are failing, that you can point to the person who sits at the helm of that. They've been appointed. They've been appointed in cabinet is appointed by the president.
You know, we have a short memory, Kenyans. We just look at immediate. If you look during the time of Kibaki, he brought back meritocracy. He brought back servant leadership. And it was demonstrated. And it was measured by performance contracts. All that was watered down. It was watered down. Performance contracts were very clear. I'll give you an example. The Minister of Roads said, I need 100 billion to do 1,000 kilometers of road this financial year. And he was given. And the following year, he had to show that he had actually achieved it. If he didn't achieve it, right, his performance was rated and he got less money.
Right.
Because this is his achievement level.
Yes.
Or he got moved to another place. If he achieved it and achieved it below budget, then he is a very efficient operator. And he was given more money that he requested. So the energy of people was to perform, not to put money in their pockets. It was to perform because I want to be able to say I did X, Y, Z. And remember then they were politicians. Right? This should be the case now with these CSEs who are not politicians. They're not supposed to be. Right? Where they clearly have got targets and they are shown up for achieving it. Because it's a great CV. But today, how many people know even the CSEs who are there? The president talks about everybody, everything. Every department, everything. He's the president.
Who are some key people in Kenya that you would say today, this person actually could drive agenda in particular offices, if you can even think at the moment in terms of meritocracy? Is it too early?
You know, you're asking me to reveal secrets.
Let the cat out of the bag. Yes.
No, we have time.
This time.
Ask me this next year, as we are getting to our blueprint. Because, of course, everyone's going to roll out a manifesto, a blueprint for Kenya. When we are talking about what does Safina Kenya look like, right? A Safina government running Kenya, what does it look like? Ask me then, because we have such an aggressive manifesto. You're going to ask me.
Sure.
How will this be rolled out? Who will roll out this? Who have you identified? All right? And I will tell you then. Today, it's still early.
Right.
Let me not, because, you know, everything we say here, others may also try and copy. So,
So one of the things, though, that may be of concern is where do we see you, Jimmy? That it would appear as though you are not out there as much as maybe some other people are saying this, making a comment tomorrow. What are you doing at the moment? Many would connect politics of the day with being atop a vehicle somewhere or behind a microphone.
You see, Nduh, we are saying we are doing things different from legacy politicians. We are saying we are about change. The model of talking from a car is legacy politics. Ruto does the same thing. So if we are about change, we must demonstrate it even in the way we are campaigning. Right? I am seeking dialogue with Kenyans. I want to engage with Kenyans. I came to your show 2022, 2023. We've been dialoguing with Kenyans. We've been doing civic education. We had tried a model of town halls in Mombasa to villagers. And I can tell you, it was very interesting. People could not get enough of discussion. So we are going to present a very different model of campaign. And we're going to try and reach nearly everywhere. We started opening offices.
Okay.
Now we want to go to dialogue. Let us now dialogue, where you have 1,000 people in a room and talk. Let people ask questions. And we'll ask them questions. This is the time when you have a different debate, because these issues are across the nation. It's not about rallies where it's one-way traffic. Ruto has rallies, but everyone knows those are paid rallies. You're paying people to attend. Here we want dialogue. We want people to really feel that that they are being heard, and their lives will change. If you remember Bill Clinton, he was called the king of town halls.
He was.
The king of town halls. The king of debate. He created a very different parameter. If you look at US debates, it's rallies within town halls. Because there's actual connection and debate. We want debate. We'll do some of the traditional, but we must do something different if we are presenting a different campaign, if we are saying we are different. Yeah? This must be a we process. Not a one-way.
A one-way.
Yeah.
What are some key sectors beyond the economy that need to be addressed in Kenya today, and how?
And how? Well, I don't know how you divorce anything to the economy, but I'll give you one that, two that extremely worry me. One is our human resource. We have a cut-off system in education, where 11 million kids go to primary school, 5 go to high school, and roughly 300,000
go to university.
About 800,000 are now going to Tibet. Right? Now, if you look at those numbers, people are being cut off. Right? And it's our greatest resource. We must find a way of getting people at least to high school. The problems you're facing in high schools today is they're overcrowded. So there needs to be an aggressive program of infrastructure building of high schools to accommodate the current that are going and more. I wish William Ruto had focused on high schools rather than this affordable housing thing. I don't know what he's doing. I wish he had he says he's raised 1.2 trillion out of that. Let me tell you, if it had gone to high schools, would have amazing human capacity. And Tibet, because we must get into a program where you have got personnel. Look at China. China has become the biggest supply contractor of the world because they have people who can assemble an iPhone. Who can do electric works. Who can do this. We don't have, if you ask Kenyans to raise 100,000 of those people, they can't. They've got millions. Now, that sector must be addressed. It's a huge sector. The other is energy. The other is energy. In as much as there will be available capital for manufacturing and the productive sector, imagine we have an installed capacity of 3,000, but only about 2,300 megawatts actually operating. For us to grow, that energy sector, if it does not get to a minimum of 10,000, we are lying to Kenyans that we're going to change their lives. You imagine we've had load shedding in this country since 2018. And that game is not changing. So to grow this economy, that sector, it must be a deliberate attention to that sector. Right? And the private sector, this is why we're talking about venture capital. The private sector must be very key in that sector. Banks must have available venture capital, insurance companies. And government would direct very clearly that that is an area of growth that you should invest depositors' money in. So that sector must grow. Otherwise, we are not absorbing our human capacity and we are not getting the output that we need. The other third one, and I say this should actually be number one. Who is a Kenyan? We can talk about all these things, but if we do not identify who a Kenyan is, because a Kenyan has been identified by others, we must remember our identity was taken away. we must be clear about who is a Kenyan. What is our brand? How do we want to see others look at us? How do we look at ourselves? Because what we are projecting here is a target towards a true sovereign state. And that true sovereign state, economically and politically, cannot be achieved if we don't have a true sovereign identity.
But that sounds, again, like something that will take time. That
Why?
People then, how people start to resonate with a different identity. It takes a moment, doesn't it, Jimmy?
No, tell me,
Nduh,
when you think of a Kenyan, who is a Kenyan? Who is a Kenyan? Tell me.
Well, I mean, somebody who lives in the geographical area that is Kenyan.
That's one. What else?
Right.
What else? Describe a Kenyan.
Coming from the outside looking in, I mean,
yes.
If somebody who then resonates with, the different parts of the country, speaks a certain language, eats a certain kind of food,
what
has
food
different
do we eat?
cultural affiliations. We're getting into a food security question here.
What is the attitude of a Kenyan? Do we like work?
Oh, Kenyans are resilient, Kenyans focus, Kenyans work hard.
Do we like education?
One would hope.
Do we like clubbing? Do we?
Yeah. You do?
Yes or no?
Yes.
Do we have a unique identifier? We are good runners.
Yes.
So we're good sportsmen. Correct? What else? Are we welcoming? Are we warm?
All of these things.
Are we entrepreneurs? Are we workers?
So what you're saying is put all of these things into one
pot. What are acceptable norms and not? Right? What are our morals? What are our cultures? What is our culture?
So what do you do with this? Do you put it in a bottle for people to drink? Do you put it in a book
see what happens?
For people to read? What do you do?
What happens is that
people
we
can then
own
imbibe
it.
and
We
say,
own it. We own it. We own it. You know, there are some countries in the world, you hear somebody say, they come from this place, and you immediately think, oh, this is a country of con men.
Okay.
This is a country of con men. Immediately. Or these are this. How do you expect people to think of a Kenyan? Who are they? When they think of a Kenyan, you go out there, they say, oh yeah, the great runners.
Yes.
Right? Oh, the people with wildlife. We're even more associated with our wildlife than the people themselves. So how are we going to be put in a bottle? Others see us as servants. Yet we are great entrepreneurs. How do we see? When you see a Chinese man, what do you think? When you see an Indian, the first thing that comes to mind is businessman.
Right.
So what is a Kenyan? A runner and a place of wildlife? That cannot be our only identity. It can't be. Right now, we are known as people who don't like their president. Okay? We must graduate to who a Kenyan is when they enter a border of another country.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's a long road ahead. 54 weeks is what it is until the next general election.
It's a long time.
It is. And to then be able to hear what your plan is for the country and what Kenyans will give you that opportunity to do that. Looking forward to another conversation where we can have and make that happen.
Thank you,
Jimmy.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Asante sana.
God bless you.
Thank you for keeping in the Situation Room. This Thursday, it's been 2 hours with Jimi Wanjigi and his plan and what Kenyans need to make it happen. We'll talk again tomorrow, God willing. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the news. I'm Sheila Tembur. Former Kenyatta University Vice Chancellors Professor Olive Mugenda and Professor Paul Wainaina have been summoned by MPs over alleged mismanagement of 6.2 billion shillings and other financial irregularities at the institution. The two are expected to appear before the National Assembly Public Investments Committee on Governance and Education, which is probing Auditor General